No one may be talking.
I see someone. Good morning. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, good morning. Great, thank you. I had some trouble logging in.
Good morning, everyone. How are we doing?
Good, how are you?
Awesome.
Great,
Ready
thank
for Ignite. A couple more minutes as always. Hey, Jen. Many people? We got 31. Everybody excited about seller leads?
Yep,
Always.
just uploading my packet here.
Get your packages going. How is everybody finding their toolkits and things on? Everybody able to locate all that stuff easily, somewhat?
Yeah, I find it in the Ignite Facebook page under units. Every morning I print it out before class.
Wonderful. That's good. Always a challenge sometimes. Someday it'll be slick and it'll be perfect. See, if a minute or two, we'll get started. Right. How's everybody doing logging in? Any challenges?
Nope, I logged in right away.
Yeah, same here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it worked fine.
Good. And Jen, is this already being recorded? Do I have to push a button? Okay.
No, the only thing that you could help me with is making me host for a few minutes just so I could stream it live on Facebook.
All right. Like right now, I'll do that. So let me find you, Jen.
Okay.
Make you host or co-host, either?
Yeah, you have to make me host and then I'll make you host back
Gotcha.
after I do that.
Make host.
Today is Spark 8, find seller leads, is that right?
Was that for us?
Yeah, it's Spark 8, find seller leads, is that the guide today?
We are. Find seller lead, Spark number 8.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. So really a weekend on Ignite. How is everybody finding it? Any ahas? Any great takeaways? Challenging a bit in the beginning, but what do we got for thoughts? What do you see? What do you have? What are you excited about today?
I put myself into command as a contact yesterday, and that was probably the greatest thing ever.
We love our command. We love and hate it, but I love
And
it
I
more
did
than
like
hate it
the
now.
neighborhood nurture thing, and I put myself like my own birthday in, but I put it in as that day so I could see what I like and stuff. That was great.
Yeah, I think that's always been the challenge, getting into the technology piece. I don't know what the experience level we have. We certainly always have new agents. We always have seasoned agents that pop in. I know I certainly did when I moved to Keller Williams. I jumped into Ignite often. I wanted to refresh at all times. And I think the command piece is something that once everybody embraces it, you're going to really let that command do a lot of your heavy lifting, and you do the love affair stuff with your folks. So if everybody's ready, I think we should kind of get going a little bit. Is everybody cool, ready to go?
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go.
Good. Let's do it. All right, so today we're really going to talk about finding seller leads. Just as a little overview, a little quick elevator speech for me. So my name is Deb Hayes. I'm the productivity coach over at Keller Williams Market Center in Westford, Massachusetts. Welcome, everyone. I've been in real estate for, I hate to say it, over 30 years, but I have to. And I have been with Keller Williams for about 7 years, came in as a single agent, did my thing, had a small team, capped the whole 9. And little by little, I moved into the leadership position, moved into the productivity coaching position about 3 years ago. And it's been a very, very interesting transition for me. I still, in my mind, am a real estate agent, so I still bring a lot of that to the table. So it's been an interesting journey. And I guess the point is, coming into Keller Williams, you just really never know where you'll end up. I never thought for a minute that I would be teaching classes every month and training 46 agents every month, because that's how many people I have in my program. So very excited to talk about seller leads today. Obviously, we always want to be interactive as much as possible. I love seeing everybody's faces. Right now, we're looking at 82 people, so that's cool. So sounds to me like we're jumping into command and getting into that, and that's highly just so important. You've been in this thing 7 days now. What are we talking about almost every day, all the time?
Lead generation.
Lead generating. What else?
Growing your business.
Command.
Yep. Lead gen-
Leveraging.
Growing your business. Command. What else?
Leveraging.
Leveraging. One more.
Practicing scripts.
Oh man, scripts and role play. Thank you, Paul. Database. Your database, your data bank. You will never, ever hear us. We'll never stop talking about that. We all know, and every trainer says it, I'm sure, every morning, no matter what business you're in, whether you're a doctor or a lawyer, or you're selling real estate or tires or pizza, you always need new business. You always need new product. You always need to be on top of things. So what we're going to talk about today really is, let me do a little screen share here. Let's see if we can get that done relatively painlessly. And we'll go to the present section here. Hold on, my thing. So yeah, seller leads. I mean, we've talked, a lot as we go through Ignite, lead generating languages. We talked about database in your business and setting goals and your value proposition. I love that value proposition piece. How did that go for everybody? Did everybody get their head around your value, your unique value? It's always a challenge, and it takes some time to really find those words. It's not something you come up with immediately. You want to fine tune it, but really by the end of this process in this Ignite class, you really should have that pretty clean, I would like to see. So what successful agents do every day, you see this slide every day. We know the secret to success is that there's no secret. It's working every day, working every day on your business, and we're growing our business. You guys, you're a little bit in that growth mode. And today we're going to talk about lead generating for buyers and sellers. I know yesterday that you guys talked a lot about finding and winning buyers and qualifying them, categorizing them, so on. You kind of do a little bit of the same thing with sellers, but in a different energy level sometimes, depending on where they're at. So we're going to work on these skills as we focus. We're going to understand the importance of your database and how to take advantage of your sphere, or your sphere of influence, which allows you to really grow your business. That's your people right now. Yes, we can do campaigns and we can run around all over the place, but the most highly likely way you're going to locate some business is through your sphere, and that's why that first really week is all about that. So our goal today is to teach you the skills you'll need to go from having a contact in your sphere to setting a listing appointment. We talk a lot about lead generating and database and all of the above, but what is really the goal here? What is our goal here with working?
Set appointments, get closings.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you want to drive to a closing, hand someone some keys, and walk away with a check. And it starts in the beginning, right? It starts in the beginning of your lead generating piece. And we're going to understand motivation, just like with buyers. You know, buyers have sometimes different motivations and different things that you talk about, but they're still people. They have a life and they're doing their thing. We're going to understand motivation. We're going to learn about qualifying and converting seller leads that we get into actual contacts, into actual appointments, because at the end of the day, that's what we need to do. And we're going to pre-qualify these sellers. And I'm going to touch a little bit on the listing presentation, although the hardcore listing presentation is really in the seller appointments thing on the 21st. You have in your individual market centers, I'm sure there's tech trainers and people that can help you expand on your listing presentation in coordination with your CMA class and learning how to determine value. So any questions so far? Nope. All right, so we'll just kind of move along. We always talk about our do not call list. And right now, obviously, anything that you see is on a do not call. You know, we don't call them. Now, if you have people in your database, obviously they're in your database and you can call them. And that's really your focus right now. Let's talk about people that we know and, you know, so that we can call them. So how do we find leads? Where do we find seller leads? Anybody know? Where else besides your database? How else do we find?
Expires, FISBOs.
Yep, expires, FISBOs.
From our sphere.
Sphere.
Open houses.
Yeah, open houses. A lot of people
Facebook
get,
ads.
what else?
Facebook ads.
Facebook ads, campaigns, absolutely. Love those. That's a great way to get new business. And how about this one, referrals, which really is all of it. Your database gives you referrals, you're calling, your daily 10-4s, everything that you're doing is going to produce business to you, correct? So we want to look, so, you know, we always say your number one job is lead generating. I like to call it relationship building, nurturing. Lead generating sounds a little salesy to me, and I know it does to a lot of people, but let's go with relationship building. Let's make sure that our goals are really speaking to that. So where else? A couple more ways to find seller leads.
How about a lawn sign?
Lawn sign of, what do you mean lawn sign?
I meant, you know, Keller Williams sign with your name on it, marketing.
Right, yes, sell, yeah, oh yeah, that's totally the best way to get more leads is having a listing. Having a listing is the highest probability of getting new business. Having listings creates buyer calls to you. It's marketing for yourself. Every open house that you do and you have your sign out front or you have those riders, those directionals. Let's face it, the directionals aren't getting people to the house. People can find the house. The directionals are an advertising piece for you. If you have a property and you're doing an open house way out, I'm over in Pepperell, Mass, little rural. If I have a house way out in the middle of nowhere, I'm putting my signs at the Rotary. Everybody just drives around it. Nobody, you know, oh man, she's busy. Again, she's doing another open house. So, you know, all of these exposure pieces really, really do help. And when we do talk about open houses, and I think that's yeah, that's also on the 20th. Oh, I think I might be doing that one. No, I think Lauren is doing that. I don't know. So anyways, on the open houses, you can go into the, you can refer to the open house job aid in the toolkit. So go back in there and pull out your open house job aid in the toolkit. Also, most market centers are doing classes on open houses. If you have a minute, you might want to write down something called the 7-level open house. It's a little, I think it might be referred to now as the 10 level. It's what you do when you're going to do an open house 2 weeks from now, and all of the many, many, many steps that you can do to squeeze the most activity out of that open house. So if you have a minute later on, pull that up and print that out and have that in your toolkit, so you can really be effective at open houses. You never want to stick a sign out and sit there. There's 4 days ahead or 5 days or a week ahead that you can do to drive business to yourself, drive business to your listing, and drive business to, and open houses are, a lot of people are very focused on buyers coming to open houses. High level of sellers go to open houses in disguise. They're snooping around at the houses. Can you guys see this thing keep flashing up? That's anything on the bottom of my screen flashing? No? Okay. I didn't want it to be distracting for you guys. So open house is a high level of,
See it.
pardon me?
We can see it, but it's not terrible.
Yeah, I don't know why it keeps doing that. High level of sellers come to open houses. They just don't identify themselves as sellers. So be very, very careful when you're doing open houses, and you're doing a fantastic job representing the home, but don't always be talking to the buyer and what they're all up to. Make sure you're representing that home, because sellers are watching what you're doing. How many signs do you have out? How personal you are? Are you telling things about the homeowner you shouldn't be? That kind of stuff. So be really careful with that. Okay, any questions on that piece? So I guess the bottom line, where you find sellers is within your world, your database, the calls that you're making every day. I know you guys are practicing scripts and doing role play. I want to do a little bit of that today when we start doing some qualifying, and we can move forward. So we're going to qualify the seller leads, which is really an important piece. We can, we can talk to people who are going to sell their house all day long, but much like we do with buyers, we have to put them in a bit of a category, because that puts us into a particular energy level with particular sellers. So we're going to switch gears, and we're going to learn about what comes after generating all these leads. What is the connection piece, the pre-qualifying piece? That is just bugging me. The pre-qualifying piece. You want to connect with them so that they know that you're the real estate of choice. You want to make sure that you are putting them in a particular category. And when you think someone's ready and willing and able and ready to rock and roll, you're going to pull the trigger and move it forward to the strategy session. I don't know if you guys have heard this word, the strategy session. That's a word that I like to use sometimes. When I'm talking to people, it sounds a little bit like, oh, okay, this is more of a plan than an appointment. So sometimes I do say that, why don't we set up instead of an appointment, let's get together and do a little strategy session, put together a plan, no rush, no pressure. And that can be a very effective tool. I hope you guys are, finding the things that you're taking away from some of the trainers that you can utilize in your world. So let's talk about connecting questions. So we all know that sellers, or the consumer, let's say, want to work with people that they know and that they like and they feel that are competent. The way people know that is how you treat them and how connected you are with them. We all know if we walk into the bank, there's a couple of tellers that are great, and we kind of want to go to them. And we don't want to go to that one over there, it takes forever. Or at a restaurant, or at the attorney's office. People want to know that you're competent, and how they know you're competent is how you connect with them. So let's do some connecting questions. We've all heard this thing over and over all the time. Try to undo that, maybe that'll help. So we have what we call connecting questions, and these questions have been around forever, right? Who, what, where, why, when, and how. So you're talking to typeface, and part of your 10-4s are using these words. And have you guys seen these type of connecting questions in your work world or your personal world before?
Yes.
Right. So when you're developing your database and you're making connections with people, you always want to find out who, like who is in their world. Tell me a little bit about your job, your family, your life, your pets. What are your interests? Who are you? The more you know your folks, the more they're going to know you too, because as we know, people mirror. When you ask a question, the natural human nature often is people will mirror back. Oh, tell me a little bit about your family. Oh, you have 2 girls and a boy. And they may say, what relationships, of course. And remember, this is a relationship business. Okay, what are they looking for? What do you want to do? What are your, what are you doing? Pinpoint their location. How about this one? Where? This is, this really rolls right into the real estate piece. Where would you like to buy? Where is your home located? Where do you want to go? You want to focus on connecting with the sellers so that you can gain and build rapport. And this also speaks to where they are in their motivation level. Why are you moving? We've talked about this before. Why do people move? There's 2 reasons why people make a move in real estate. Does anybody know the 2 reasons?
They want to or they have to.
Okay, what else? What else? Yeah, that's sort of it. Anybody else?
Work related.
Work relocation,
Yeah, what else?
More space.
Life cycle event.
life events.
Yeah, absolutely. Life events. So there's 2 things why people make a move: good reasons and bad reasons, right? All the good reasons, they're having more kids and they need a bigger house. They're getting 5 new dogs. They need a bigger house. They have a big giant house and they're over it. And they want a nice, cool, small condo with a pool and the whole thing. So those are exciting times. And that's why we like real estate, because people are often, usually, a lot of the times, it's for good things. And that's the fun part about real estate, when you're really looking and working with people doing cool, fun things in their life, moving out of town or getting a new job. It's all good. Of course, now we are also involved in people when they are having bad things happen to them. We have divorce, unfortunately, we have death, we have financial problems, and we don't know if the window of that might be coming up a little more than we've seen. We hope not, we don't know. So we have to be prepared for both of these scenarios. And we are always the professional. We're going to help them through whatever they're doing. So why is huge. Why is really the motivation piece. And why is almost the number one thing where you categorize them, why they're moving. Gets you a little bit of a feeling for their timeline. And then of course, when do you want to make your move? When is this all happening in their mind, so that you can know in your mind how you're going to handle them? And then how are we going to do this? How are we, sellers and me, real estate agent, how are we going to do this? So what is the plan? And that's why I like to call it a little bit of a strategy session. So how do you think these questions help you build rapport and trust with a lead? How do you think these questions help? Anybody?
Yeah, you're communicating, you're keeping the dialogue open, and
I think they're all open-ended questions, so it builds that conversation with them, and it helps you to get to know them better, so they feel like you're caring a little more.
Yep, I agree, Jen.
Focusing on their goals and not your own.
Yep. Yeah.
I think they help the seller understand that you're in alignment with their plans, with their life.
Right. Absolutely. You are in alignment with what they're thinking. They don't care that much about you. They really will care about them. And they want to know that you also care about them. Yeah, it's very important, and to build these you know, they know that you care, and they don't care what you know until they know that you care. I don't know if anybody's heard that. I don't know. I don't think it's a bold law, but you guys have seen that. They do not care what you know until they know that you care, and very, very, very important in the listing piece. So yeah, building rapport, and it's going to develop trust. And yes, we're real estate people, but we are also people, and they want to know about us as well. So it's very important to, you know, again, it's really all about them, but you do want to talk a little bit about yourself, and that can be very helpful. So what other questions might you want to ask other than who, what, where, why, when, and how? What other questions might be important to people? In their selling or their, because if they sell, they're probably buying somewhere else. What
How
else?
much you
What-
can afford?
Right.
Financial, what else? What other things are like, you might want to ask?
Do you have a timeline?
Yeah, that's in there. That's in there. When?
Are you working with somebody else currently?
Yeah, you can ask that. I always pretend, I just assume I'm getting every listing. So Joanna Knight has raised her hand.
Yes, good morning. I'm Johanna Knight with Seacoast, Coastal Seacoast, Portsmouth office.
Nice. Nice. Tim's in.
Yes. Whether you're meeting with a seller, to help you prepare for your marketing pieces, asking questions of them on what they really loved about their current home.
Yeah.
But also if they're moving, to find out what are their needs in the new home, and what's important, their wants and their really needs.
That's very, very, very important, Joanna. What other needs do people ask about and that we need to know about? Remember, we're not the expert, but we can find the answers. What do people want to know about? What else? And how does that help us help them?
Maybe like what happens through the process, such as like the closing, or like if we need a attorney, stuff like that, maybe.
Yeah, the process. We have the product, which is the house, the roof and the electrical and the septic systems and the mold, and that's the product. We have the process. Our job is to help them with the process. They don't know. Even if you've had a seller that sold 5 houses, if they haven't done it in a few years, it's probably different from when they had done it before. So our job is to know the process and to direct them. You know, I like to run the show a little bit when I'm the listing agent, not run the show, but guide them as to what we're doing, you know, and to be somewhat in control of what's happening. Oftentimes people want to know about schools, and if they're going somewhere, they're going to ask you those kind of questions. And, you know, you may not have kids in the school system. My kids are out of the school system, so I certainly I have to speak to that. But yeah, so there's lots of things that you're going to ask. And what's the very most important thing when we're doing connecting questions, when we're asking these questions? Who knows the number one important thing? You might want to get your pen out for this one. What's the most important thing when you're asking these questions? Who has the answer?
I don't know if I have an answer, but I have a guess.
Okay.
Which is, what is it that what do you admire from your agent, or what do you most expect or want from your agent?
I love that question. What is the one thing you want from your agent? I've asked that question, and it's really a great question. Most people don't even know the answer. I will say I was assisting a new agent at a house, and she was friends with the lady, the woman, and the guy was there. And we did a great presentation. She's brand new. She did her CMA. She did a wonderful job. Even though she was friends, she was very much with her real estate lady hat on. And she said at the end, what is the one thing you want from your agent? And I don't know. And the guy said, I don't want to be double teamed by 3 of you, you know? And I thought, and I said to him, right. And I said to him, thank you for that. I would not have thought that. I think what he was saying, he didn't want to be pushed. And she, which was fabulous, this agent said, why do you feel that way? Did you have that experience before with an agent? Really interesting discussion. Great follow-up question with this agent in my office. I was really impressed on her very first thing, just came right out of her head. And he said, yeah, I've had that before. I felt pushed and I don't want to be pushed. Of course, this was his third house, so he learned what he didn't like, and he was very articulate about it, and it was great. So that's a fantastic question. Yes, follow up, Michelle.
I think I might know the answer to your question. Is it that we need to talk less and listen more?
That's it. That's what I was looking for, and I wanted everybody to write that down. Listen. We have fabulous questions. We have fabulous training. It's all great. But if we never listen to anything anybody says, that's a problem. That's why we like command too, because it's very easy to write things down when you're on. I suggest, unless you're driving around in your car, if you're doing lead generating and you're sitting in your office, you have command open, right? And you're talking to your friend and you say, hey, Michelle, what's going on? How are the kids? Or tell me a little bit more about what you're thinking. I saw you at the cookout. How can I help you? Tell me a little bit more about yourself. And you're writing it down. Her kids, her dogs, do they like motorcycles? Do they like horses? Are they going to Florida? Write everything down. That's the beauty of command. Let command do that junk work for you. You're in charge of the relationship. Command is in charge of the bookkeeping and the record keeping. So I love that answer. Listen, there are personality types, and we've talked about different personality types along the way, where people do talk and wait for their turn to talk as opposed to listening. I don't know if you guys, who's had an experience with a seller they might want to share, whether it's another coach, whether it's an agent, who wants to share a great experience with these connecting questions? Anybody?
Deb,
How do you make this thing to start? Okay, go ahead.
Deb, I was going to jump in real quick. Rhonda made a great point. We typically will have all the bullet points of what we offer as a listing agent, and such an easy question to ask that Rhonda put forth is, what are you looking for in an agent? Because of the 15 bullet points you were going to probably read through, because I love talking. If that person only says 2 or 3, I can spend more time on those. Right? They're probably already in your pile of things that you're willing to do. So that was really important. The other thing that's really important too, and Deb just touched on this, the person who may have, this could be maybe their 5th time selling a house. What we need to remember is what will always change. Our process may not change. It may evolve. Efficiencies might get built in over time. The thing that's always, in motion, and Johanna knows, a good friend of ours, Kathy O'Rourke, said to me when I was in my freshman year, sitting next to her at my first bold, crying myself to sleep. Great class. I was just nervous as hell. Anyway, and she said to me, she goes, Tim, I've sold the same house, the same property, 5 or 6 times. And the emotions change because now the buyer is the seller, right? And going through that whole process. And what's important to remember too, is my incoming buyer was newly married. My outgoing seller is now divorced. My incoming buyer is downsizing. My outgoing seller is now a widow, right? So the emotions wrapped around these conversations are so wildly different. We do have to change the way in which we approach our conversations. So I just thought that was important to remind people of too, right? Just because this person has bought or sold 58,000 times, the emotions attached to the transaction are so wildly different. We have to be aware of that. And I trust that you guys are. Just want to make sure you remind yourself of that. You might have worked with this client a handful of times. They're going to be in a different headspace because usually it's a life change that drives us to buy and sell.
Absolutely, Tim. That's why we must always be very, very aware of what we're in. Never make assumptions. Absolutely, positively never make assumptions, whether it's fair housing kind of an assumption or just, you just never know. You just really never know. And it's also, and this sometimes, and Tim, you've been around, certain people are decision makers within the thing too. And you want to make sure you ferret that out as well. Anybody else have an experience with this connecting stuff?
Yes, actually, I do.
Yeah, go ahead, Andrew.
It was in a real estate transaction. Someone was renting a property.
Yeah.
And the customer mentioned that the section of the basement he didn't want to rent because it had kind of a water issue and there was a pump there. And he mentioned it to the real estate agent, and the real estate agent never put it in the rental agreement. So the people ended up putting the some of their stuff in there, and it ended up getting wet. And the customer was really upset because he felt like she wasn't listening or he wasn't listening to them. He mentioned it a few times and they never put it in the lease agreement. So it was something that.
So the client, when you say customer, you mean the client, the person that was owned the home.
Yes.
Had a real estate person, and he or she said, "Hey, we got water down here, man. I don't want any stuff." And the agent was not listening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, that is not good.
Yeah.
And now it turns into trouble because the person has put their stuff down there and it didn't get into the listing. It didn't get into the lease. So several layers of things didn't work correctly. The seller communicated well. The list agent didn't hear it, didn't make note about it, maybe didn't want to disclose it. I don't know. Now we have a client that's gone in. A contract was made. Did anybody read it? Somebody should have caught that. So yeah, listening is important. And I wonder if that seller would use that agent again. Probably not. Right. So yeah, I mean,
Deb?
Yes, Casey.
Hi, I have a question or a comment.
Yeah.
So listening is really important, and I'm a good listener, so I think that really helps me in my past and in sales, and I think it will help me here.
Yeah.
But one of the things that we went over in the deliver your value proposition was what sellers value, and pretty far way down on the list was that the agent has a caring personality and is a good listener. So I just thought that was interesting because was it the way that they gathered that data, not asking the right questions, because it seems like that would be up much higher on the list.
That's interesting. Maybe the sellers, I don't know. I can't speak to that. I don't know. Anybody have any follow-up on that?
I think a lot of that data comes from when we talked about the other day, seller data comes with it's the first thing that that question asked, the first thing that comes to mind. So that second thing could be that the person wants a agent who cares about them, but 7% of the people might have only said their first priority is that they have an agent that listens and cares.
Yeah.
So it can skew that data a little bit.
Yeah.
Numbers and 70% of the people say that, they want an agent that's going to sell their house quickly, but their second priority is that they have an agent that knows and listens and cares. That can really throw off how it sounds. So where 7% of the people say they want an agent, their first priority is they want an agent that listens and cares to them.
Right. Or maybe they don't articulate that that's really what they want.
Yes.
But their answer is official, but really deep down. Joanne, I'm not sure if I'm saying your name correctly. You have your hand raised. Oh, you're on mute, huh?
You're muted, Johanna.
Johanna. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. I didn't know I had to lower it after. I thought it went automatic. I just put it down.
Okay, good.
So,
sorry.
all right.
That's no worries. So that's the deal. Yes. I don't care what it says on the thing. You have to listen, right? Because ultimately you have to. So connecting questions. So what do we do when we have these questions? What do we do when we have really had a nice conversation with somebody, and now this is where organization comes in, correct? So it's very much like working with a buyer. You have 3 categories, and we know in command, you can tag them as such. You have your A, able, ready, and willing to do business. This is your categories. Within 0 to 14 days, that's pretty A. That's an A+++, I would say. That's pretty gonna do something right away. Obviously, we're gonna be all over that. But, you categorize them as an A. And then B, able, ready, willing to do 15 to 60 days. That's a weird number, if you ask me, but that's pretty heavy duty. And you want it, according to this section, it does say you want to put them in your database, and they're probably already in there, and then call them every couple of weeks or maybe once a week, depending if they're at that 15-day or 60-day. And then of course the C's, and these are all great seller leads. I mean, this is all great pipeline stuff. People that are going to do business after that 60-day window. I think you guys have seen that real estate tends to be 30, 60, 90-day windows. That's why life flies, because we're always looking 30, 60, 90 days ahead. So I would get in the habit of, having a check, a flag that goes off or tick that goes off whenever you're speaking to somebody where they want to be. Now, why is it important for you to know how ready your potential seller is? Why is that important?
You want to be top of mind to them when they're ready.
Why is it important to you as the agent to know like where people land?
Where to allocate your time.
Yeah. Perfect. What else?
I mean, when to reach out to them, how often, how like aggressively to contact them.
Yeah. Kind of put you in your follow-up plan, where to put them. Again, that energy level, how do you want to follow up with them?
You want to be in tune with what they're doing.
What if they're a C? What if they're a, I don't know, kind of a thing? Maybe that's a D. But a C, if they say they're going to do something in 60 days, how do you keep track of them? Which, by the way, 60 days happens in 5 minutes, right? Nowadays, it seems. How do we follow up? What do we do with them? How can we ensure that we're going to keep in touch with them? Let's put some things out there.
Smart plans.
Love it. Smart plans.
Put them in command and do a touch with them.
Yep. Smart plan. What's another thing
Smart
you might
plan,
want to
right.
do?
I would probably have some type of social media like contact with them to keep me in their thoughts.
Absolutely. Stay top of mind. I love that piece. That's really a good idea. So we've got smart plans. How about like a little search on MLS or within Command? Do you guys know you can do a search on Command for people? It's a little tricky sometimes because of the neighborhood thing, but start plugging away with those. I think the more we use them, the more they'll populate those neighborhoods. I love the smart plan. Does everybody in the group have smart plans up and running at this time? At least one.
No,
And why not?
I just haven't done it yet.
Okay. So people get a little nervous about smart plans and, oh, what if it doesn't look right, and so on. Not to get too off topic, but obviously it's an important piece of your follow-up. You may talk to people, they're not going to do anything for 3 years when the kids get out of college, or, and then all of a sudden, or they're not going to do anything. And then they find out they're going to, so you have to stay in touch with people, and smart plans are huge. So my recommendation is to go into the smart plan library. It's like your app store. There's lots and lots of them. And the more you're in Command, you'll see how it's not instinctual sometimes on how they work, but there's certain ways when you hover over, you can click the view, and then definitely you want to find, if you have one homework assignment today, go find yourself one smart plan that is a little, hey, follow up, how you doing? That they get something from you once a month, and you can personalize them. Just go for it. It'll be fine. And you can have a smart plan that has one touch. It says call them next month, and it's a task. And in your homepage, it's a task. Hey, call Carol. Oh, all right. And because you're going to forget about Carol if you don't put something in place. So let's, we can kind of go on and on about that forever, but that's something that you want to put into play, and that's the beauty of Command, because you literally cannot remember everything. So let's get everybody in, has anybody ever heard, and have we spoken about the DTD2 piece?
Yes,
Anybody? Yeah,
very
Tim, do you
good.
guys use DTD2 up there, up country?
Yeah, we can post that in the chat as well. It's a character on Star Wars, and it's also a great way to make sure that you stay out of call bias, right? So DTD2 is do the database too. Every week, there's 2 different initials that you're going to be calling, and then there is a third initial attached for text. Because what invariably happens is January 1st, we get all super excited. We make a huge cup of coffee and we start calling Alex Abernathy. And then he's not home, or we get his voicemail, and then we're like, wow, I'm exhausted. I made 1 phone call. And then Tuesday we pick up the phone again and we call Alex Abernathy again. And we never get to the B's, the C's, or the Q's. If you don't have any Z's, meet somebody that has a Z in their name, right? And we're just going to build out our database, and we're going to make sure that we're moving through it and consistently touching on everyone on a consistent basis. So you'll notice too, because Gary has a sense of humor, as you rotate through, there's 13 weeks built in for every quarter. So you will get through your entire alphabet every quarter. Crazy, huh? And there's A and W, like the root beer, B and E, like breaking and entering, like all those letters work together on purpose so you remember them. And it's to stay out of call bias so you're not always calling your A's. Because invariably we're going to go through and be like, I'd call Deb, but I think she hates me. Maybe I'll call Erin. She hates me. Maybe I'll call Ted. I think he might have died. Like we'll give ourselves all these reasons we shouldn't call these people. Just call through your database and find, because what we need to remember, and I love that Deb brought this up. If you look at the C category here, 61 days out, right? 90 days out from today. Today is Wednesday, December. I wished it was December. I'm glad it's not 2020 anymore. Yeah. So today's Wednesday, January 13th. It's actually Tuesday, April 13th today, right? So if I'm sitting in a kitchen table today, they're probably going to close on April 13th, and that 90-day rule of getting a listing to close. So what do I need in 61 days? More business, right? So I'm happy to have those people be in my life.
Yeah.
Right. How often do you guys buy a car? How often do you guys, I mean, if you think about that from like the campaign standpoint that Deb was talking about, you know, you buy a car, what, every 4, 5, 6 years? How often do you see Subaru commercials if you watch TV?
Oh God. Yeah.
All the time. Just to remind you that we're here and you can drive us and we'll get you there safely in New England. Right. So it's a reminder. Right. And then when you see people, and they always talk about the RAS, right? The reticular activating system. When you buy a red car, you start to see red cars.
Mm-hmm.
And when Deb Hayes from Keller Williams calls me, what signs do I notice on the way home?
Right.
Keller Williams. And in New England, we're happy to report, I think in New Hampshire, we're proud to report that every 5th agent is powered by Keller Williams.
Yeah.
So that's the balance of power that we have with our numbers. Is when I talked to Deb Hayes today, she reminds me she was with Keller Williams. I'm driving home to tell my wife we might list with Deb, and I see 52 signs on the way home because our agents are kicking butt, right? That's the purpose of staying in touch. If your friends don't know what you're doing or who you're doing it with, they're never going to call you when they choose to list their home.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly, Tim. It's not their job to call you. Right. It's your job to call them. And this is one of those things that is a big stumbling block for people. It's call hesitance, call avoidance, all these fancy words. This program called DTD2, and I think we need to up our training on that. I know for myself in my market center, we talk about it. People in my productivity group kind of do it, and they kind of do it. But I think if you literally called people 4 times a year and did nothing else, you would probably have business. I never said that, but I think that's true. Correct? If you called somebody 4 times, all the emails and all the text message and all the Facebook likes, until you really connect with that person, and you do it once a quarter, you will have business. I can't guarantee, but I guarantee. So that's something that we want to make sure that we're doing. So seller lead categories kind of get you in that level as well. If you know your radar is going to go up. If they say, yeah, I'm going to do something next week, you're going to be all over it. But don't forget the people that say, I'm not going to do it till fall. And I'm not going to do it till the kids get out of college. And I'm not going to do it till I retire. You know, whatever their deal is, you will forget them if you don't put a plan in place. So that's what we want to do, right?
Erin put the PDF for DTD2 for 2021 in the chat at 9:43. And if you guys take a look at it real quick, I'll tell you right now, we are in the week of January 11th. So we're currently breaking and entering. So
B
B and E right
eggs.
now are your 2 letters that you should be calling this week.
So
And then next
that's-
week we go to D and O.
That's last names.
Yep.
You know, the last name of the people. And I think just to follow up a quick on that, I believe that those 2 letters also equal about 8 to 10% of the overall population of the United States. So you're not calling all the, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It balances it out. And that week of Christmas also has a like Y and Z or something. So you have a little break. So get in the habit of your daily routine of your lead generating, because a lot of people also go, I don't know who to call. Well, here's your list. Call, no excuses. Now you have your list. So let's just put that into play. B and E. So just call them, and then you'll be done. All of a sudden, you'll have called your B's and E's, and you'll feel so good. You know. So lead categories. We got that. Everybody's good. So what do we do next? Do we want to take a little break? Is it too soon? Do we want to do some connection role play? How are we doing role play and things like this, Erin or Tim or whoever? What have you guys been doing?
What we can do is we can just put them into breakout. If you want to do breakout rooms, and then as we just get in a room of, you know, depending on what the numbers are right now, we got 150 people. See, it's 149 now. It starts ticking. As soon as we say we're going to do an activity, people run for the hills. So again, I'm going to remind everybody there's cake in the breakout room. So stick around for cake. Yeah. So we're going to go into breakout rooms in groups of whatever. We do 30 rooms of 5 or whatever. We just break it out. And then we just, we can coach each other through the scripts and just really talk about, you know, just having the conversations and categorizing seller leads and making sure that people are understanding our focus is on listings. We talked about buyers yesterday. Listings have to be our focus.
I think, yeah, and doing those connecting questions as if one's a seller and one's an agent. So Erin, do you do that? Or do
I don't have the power today because I'm not the host.
Deb, if
but
you want to make,
Yeah.
sorry, Deb, if you want to make Erin, Tim, or I the host, we will take care of that for you.
I would love that.
Sure.
Because making you the host, Jen, you raised your hand. So basically, yes. So basically we'll go into our breakout rooms. How long will they be? 10?
I think that we have probably quite a few exercises today. If we just keep it to 5 minutes, so we can get some play time and then get back to the group.
All right, so we're gonna do practice, because I'm telling you guys, I know you looked 127.
So
Tim.
Erin and Tim, I'm gonna throw in an audible really quickly because we just lost like 30 people in a minute. So
Yes,
I want to really kind of maybe change up the way we're doing this, because if this many people are leaving, maybe we need to re-strategize. Tim, Erin, Deb, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I was thinking, how about me and Tim? Hey, Tim's the seller and I'm the agent. Just bang right into it.
Yep.
So up to you guys.
That's great. You know what? I'm gonna make Erin the host, and you guys could do this the way you want to. So perfect.
So Jen, I have to jump to help one of our agents get contracts going in our market center. So if you want to make Tim the host, I'll be right back.
Wow, hot potato. I will take the conch shell. I feel like Piggy on Lord of the Flies.
I'll be right back. I'm
fine.
sorry.
It'll be
All
fine.
right. So what am I doing? I'm making Tim
All
the
my
host.
English majors just got that reference. Yes, make me the host. Yes.
All right, here we go. And we are going to breakout rooms, but on going forward, we're just going to go for it. How come I can't?
That's fine.
Tim, host.
Yep,
You
I
should
got
be
it.
Are you host?
Yeah, we can just and we'll do it right here, because obviously we say breakout rooms and people freak out. So if you want to just drag me through the conversation, we can do that.
Yeah, you want to just do that? We'll do ring
Sure.
and you're the seller and I'm the agent.
Sure. I'm in a bad mood today, Deb. Good luck.
All right, good deal. So, all right. So let's go for it. So ring.
Hello.
Hey, Tim, how you doing? This is Deb Hayes over at Keller
Not too bad.
Williams.
If you're not talking, could we mute, please? That'd be great. Thank you. I'm doing great. How are you, Deb?
Pretty good. I just wanted to check in. I saw you over at Marie's Cookout on Saturday, and I wanted to follow up. You mentioned that you were thinking about making a move to something smaller. Do you have a minute to chat?
Yeah, we sold the kids and we're looking to downsize. Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Yeah, good deal. So is it just yourself, or who do we have here in the party?
It'll be myself and Janina, as long as she'll keep me. Yep.
All right. Well, that's kind of fun. I know that
Mhm.
feeling. So what are you looking for? Tell me a little bit of what you're looking for.
We do want privacy. We don't necessarily want a huge yard to take care of. So I guess a private lot. So if we could have some mature growth on the trees around the lot, but not necessarily a huge plot of land. I'm getting super senile, so I'd love a master on the main for probably my in-laws for the time being, and then something that we could transfer to when I don't want to take the stairs anymore.
I hear you. Yeah.
Yeah,
I hear you.
And honestly, from a lifestyle standpoint, we'd like to be as close to the Oaks as possible for golf.
Ooh, I like that.
And I think that's quite honestly, that's really it. We're not too worried about stores because Amazon delivers everything to our porch. Probably
Okay,
need a
cool.
covered front porch because we order a lot of stuff.
Love it. Love it. I hear you.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So where are you thinking? Where are you thinking of going? You want to stay in the same area? You're looking to like really branch off?
Yeah, I mean, we love Stratford, but we were here for the kids, and now that they're off to school, I think we'd probably focus on either Wolfboro or even further up into like North Conway.
Okay. So why? Is it really, why are you going? Is it really just why?
Yeah, well, the freedom of my current role, and especially with COVID, I don't necessarily need to be brick and mortar. And if I do have to be at, any one of our offices, we have an office in Wolfboro, we have an office in North Conway.
Yes, so you're flexible.
I actually, the more I think about it, Nate lives in Wolfboro, so I don't want to be near him. So maybe North Conway's the go. Yeah.
I hear you. Yeah.
And yeah, I just honestly, she loves to hike, and there's a golf course up there, so that might be, that would be probably the go, is the North Conway area. Just fresh air, less people, more trees.
Yeah, sounds good, Tim. It's funny, I do hear this often. People are in the same, they don't need a commute. That's something that we used to hear years ago, not so much now. So when are you guys thinking of doing something? Any particular timeline you're looking at?
Yeah, you know what? When we saw you at the cookout, it was really we'd really just started the conversation at Easter, I guess.
Yeah.
I think my concern is that we don't miss out on interest rates. At the same time, we also, and we know we're not going to get one without the other. We know we're going to get maximum value in the current market. We just we're not actually dying to pay through the nose for where we're going to.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to serve that by right sizing to a smaller property and not having all the land.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes total perfect sense. So you know what I think? How's your schedule? Maybe we sit down and do with your wife. Why don't we sit down, do a little strategy session, put a plan in action. No rush, nothing you have to do today. How's your schedule? What are you doing this weekend? How about I come over? Saturday, Sunday, what's up?
I think Sunday might be best. Sunday afternoon might be best.
All right, great. Are you cool with, I'll have my mask. If you really, we'll do it all COVID-ly. And I'll do a quick evaluation of the house. You know what I'll do? I'll bring a little snapshot of what's going on in the market. Nothing fancy. That way, that way we can touch base a little bit on what your price point might be, and we'll just have a little discussion, put together a plan. You may not.
Yeah, you don't need a
anything-
mask. We have a 48-foot deck and a 49-foot kitchen picnic table. So yeah.
All right, cool.
Just
All
bring
right.
a
So what do you
harness.
think?
Yeah.
What do you think about 3 o'clock? Is that good?
I feel like I'm dyeing my hair at 3. How about 4?
All right.
Yeah, good.
4 o'clock will work for me.
Yeah.
I'll swing by and I won't take too much of your time and be out of there so you can get dinner going for.
That's fine. Not a problem.
All right, cool. So Tim, you're not in a bad mood. You were very nice.
Yeah.
What category is this gentleman in? Unmute.
This is where they unmute. Yeah.
B.
D.
I would say B. B is a
B.
Because of time schedule.
I say C.
See? Oh, we're all over the place.
I'm a 60-day kind of guy. All right. I like that. I was trying to play easy to get, but I guess not.
In me as the agent, playing agent,
Yeah.
I think you're more motivated than you're saying. Maybe.
Yep.
I'm putting you in an A right now because I'm coming over on Sunday.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Deb, because all Deb needs to do is come over and peel the onion a few more layers. And and I was very transparent. I was very myself in this script. And most salespeople want to be sold. I can't wait for her to throw a contract in my face. I can't wait to get moving because, you know, and a lot of this is insider baseball. As an agent, I know that I'm in total control of all the decisions. I know there's obedience that she's going to do as Janina and I ask moving forward. At the same time, I think when you have that person in that, oh, I don't want to be too pushy. Like we have to take control of the conversation. We have to just guide them. Like if I'm open to her coming over, we're going to sit on the deck. It's Sunday afternoon. There'll probably be cocktainis flowing, you know,
Yeah,
and
you're
again,
not
you don't
gonna
want to do
sign-
that until after the contracts are signed. I know.
Right, and
I know.
I'm not going to make you
Yes,
sign anything
yes,
till you're
yeah.
ready.
Ice cold lemonade. Anyway, that being said, you know, when somebody's open to all that and they're just like, yep, like you're not going to throw out a way far away date. Like, how's
Nope.
this weekend look? Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Yeah, I would love to have you over on Sunday. I mean, it's an exploratory conversation. Doesn't mean it can't end with a signed contract, because I could sign a contract with Deb on Sunday that we're not going to go live for another month.
Yep.
And this is what we need to remember. New agents need to understand this. You can get somebody signed yesterday. Doesn't mean they go live in the MLS, which is not a soccer league, the multiple listing service. Don't use acronyms with the clients. They get confused.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
ACL is a sports injury. No. Yes, it is. Actually, the ALC is our leadership core.
Right.
We want to make sure that they understand, listen, you can sign this today. That way I can start to get to work. I can begin to craft this plan that's going to be awesome for you guys. We can start to do all these things behind the scenes. Then the curtain opens on our
Right.
launch date. There's all, and here in New Hampshire, there's 2 dates on our contract. The date the contract's effective, that we're joining forces, and the date we're going to go live online and tell the universe we're for sale. So
Right.
like super important. Like, yeah, I was dying for her to come over and talk to me. So just
So-
roll with it.
And virtually, you can't go to someone's house on Sunday and go live on Monday. I don't have photos. I don't
Right.
know what the house looks like. I'm sure it's immaculate, but you don't know. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
obviously in Mass, we have a kind of a two thing. We have we have a listing contract with the dates, and we have the non-MLS contract with the same dates that allows us to have the contract, but we don't go live until it's really the seller's decision, the seller and the agent. What is our go live date? We're going to plug that in and go live. We're going to schedule. We got a plan, a strategy. We have a plan. So anybody else have any comment on our scripts and role play there?
Hey, yeah, Deb, this is Donna from Boston Metro.
Yeah.
So what I noticed during the script practice that you and Tim did is the more you got him talking, the more you uncovered his motivation was quicker than he led off with at the beginning. So I guess what I'm hearing, and it's been pounded into our heads for the last week, 8 days, is that you really, really need to get them talking and do a lot of being quiet. You know, ask them follow-up questions to get them talking further, because that's when you really uncovered his motivation. And you went right in for the, I hate to call it the kill, that's going to show my sales background, but you went right in for the close. So you got him to make an appointment with you for Sunday. And it was all due to engaging him in conversation. And it was a friendly back and forth. There was no salesy stuff going on. So it was a great script practice. I picked up a lot of good tips.
Right, and we're going to do another one. And one reason why I think it went smoothly, yes, I had a chatty customer here because he's not a client yet. We don't have anything signed. I had my list of things right here on my thingy that had the who, what, when, where, and why. So I didn't some of it naturally comes because I've been around, but I literally had those questions right in front of me. So, and if this were a real play, I would be typing in what Tim is saying.
Right.
So that I can know it. Because when that hardwires it in your head, and I would have command open, hey, Tim, what's going on? And then right from command, I'm going to make my appointment, put it right in my calendar, right?
That's the goal, is to set the appointment. End of
That's
story,
the
right?
goal here, guys.
Everybody says, Timmy, I don't like the phone. I don't want to make calls. I'm better off face-to-face. The goal is to set the appointment to get face-to-face.
Right.
Then we
Hey,
have all
guys.
3 categories.
Yeah.
Right?
What's up, Matt?
Yeah, I have an observation to make, and just let me know if you feel like this is reasonable or true. You know, it almost seems like on the listing side, when you're engaging with a seller, it becomes a little bit more about rapport and making the client or potential client comfortable with you as the agent of choice. Whereas the buyer side, to me, it tends to be a bit more information heavy. In other words, you know, things like, you know, do you need to sell in order to buy? Are you pre-qualified? You know, things of that nature don't necessarily translate to the seller side unless you're, you know, you're also working that side of the equation for your seller. In other words, if you're representing, you know, them as a seller and a buyer, then obviously you'd move to that. So I'm just wondering if you think, generally speaking, you'd agree with that, you know, when you're engaging on the listing side, it's really about, you know, representing yourself as the right choice and building the rapport in an effort to do that.
Great point, Maddie. And here's what you're driving at. And just to make it clear for everybody, when a consumer is shopping for a home, they're looking at houses, all the houses. When they're looking to sell their house, they're looking for an agent, the rock star agent, right? So to Matt's point, building that rapport, I know right now they're standing in the driveway looking at me, the house, or the agent, right? So I want to make sure that I'm making them feel heard and cared for, because ultimately when the buyer is in the marketplace, they're looking at houses and they are looking for the right house, where right now they're looking, who do I trust? Who's the individual in the marketplace that I trust with my commodity, right? We're treating them as they're a business owner with a commodity that we want to represent in the marketplace, as opposed to the buyer, where as the agent in that conversation, we need to gather enough intel to make sure we connect them to the right property, right? So it is much more, I would argue it's more rapport building when you're working with the seller, and it's more information, intel gathering when you're working with the buyer. You're right, Matt. I think you hit it right on the head.
I have a follow-up on that as well. I think it's both. You still need to know with the buyer who you're dealing with, what they want. I mean, if you just want to be a showing agent, that's one thing. But if you want to really be a buyer agent, now we're talking another class, another training class, but you still want to be their buyer agent of choice, and you still need to build that rapport that says, who's the decision maker? You know, who are we looking at? What do you need? What do you need? Where do you need to go? And how are we going to do it? Let's sit down to a strategy session instead of just standing in the driveway looking at this product. So it's a little bit of both. Wouldn't you say, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Deb, it's Kendra.
Hey, Kendra.
I definitely think that Deb is right about that. And especially in this market, I think coming, into real estate when the market was so, crazy that every house that came on, you had to be on it before it was on. And you have to listen to your buyers, and you have to know if there's 3 houses coming on tomorrow, what is the one that meets what they're looking for the most? And, put that one in front of them. I have these as well, but in a market where you have, houses coming on and there's multiple offers every single day, you really have to listen to your buyers, because you don't want them to get, you don't want them to lose faith in you that, yeah, these houses are coming up and whatever, but she's not showing us the one that has the great big backyard that we're really looking for, versus, she's taking us to this one over here because maybe that one's a higher price. Like, you really have to listen, I think, and build that with both sides so that they have confidence in you.
Well, exactly. And just as we move a little discussion here on the buyer side as well, these connecting questions are also important to building, as we said, this rapport and this trust, because you may have to say to them, you need to overpay. You may, you're going to be saying things that are really, they need to know that you care and that you know them. And if they really can't, then you show them houses that are less money. You know what I mean? So this is all part of it, So that's really where it's at. It's all part of it. It's just, it's your muscle memory of if relationship building, lead generating, back to database, the DTD2s. These calls that you're making should all have a little bit of that juice in there. You know, how are things going? First question, how are you doing with the COVID thing? How are you doing at home? Let's make sure we're talking to them and making sure that they're okay. If they're not okay, then what can I do for you? How can I help you? Take care, I'll call you next month. You know, don't, you know, all of these speak to that relationship building piece, which is called lead generating. But if you just call it lead generating, you're missing a very important psychological, personal touch to the whole thing. I would love it if somebody who wants to do one more role play, and then we're going to take a break. I'd love somebody else to jump in and do the ring and make a call. Who wants to jump in real quick? I need 2 volunteers. We'll just watch you.
Can I
Who's
ask a
in?
question before we move on?
Yeah, Paige, what's up?
So back to the original conversation that you and Tim had, when you talked about meeting up at his house and talking and getting a signed contract, is there like certain keywords or certain parts of the conversation that signal you that it's an appropriate time to pull out a contract?
During the conversation at his house on the deck? That would be another script and role play thing. And that's also part of the seller appointment. That's on the 21st. Yeah, you're going to look for tells. Well, yeah, there are some things. I'm going to be sitting on I'm going to go to this meeting prepared. And I told him I'm going to do, I don't know if you guys heard at the end, I said, I'm going to do a little snapshot and see what's going on your house.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go in, I'm going to find his house and do a little, what do I think his house is worth? Now, it's an active real estate agent who's doing their 10-4s and they're looking at every houses on MLS every day. I'm going to have, before I walk into his house, if I'm worth my salt, I should know kind of what that house is worth. Yes, maybe it's, you know, I'm going to make a battlefield decision when I walk in, but I'm going to know roughly, is this a $200,000 house or $900,000 house? So I can speak a little bit to that. And then I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to always print out all the listing contracts and have them in my bag, just in case they go, you know what, let's go for it. Because I'm going to say, like Tim said, let's put me to work. Here's our contract. We're not going to go live for another month. I know you want to paint the bedroom and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Also, having a contract signed is going to save you as the agent, Paige, from not having the painter go to Tim. Hey, my nephew is looking for a house. So make sure you get these contracts signed. It protects you because we work, remember, for free until we get a closing. So and if you're a professional and you come in as a professional, it's perfectly acceptable. You're not at that cookout. By the way, let me grab my contracts. You've set a strategy session for them. They're probably wondering if you have contracts in your bag. Right. So, yes, this is all part of your learning. And this is why it's important. And it's unfortunate that 35, 20 people dropped off. Aren't you guys learning a lot from the scripts and role play? Because it's better to use your words and mess it up with Tim than it is with a client. And even if you mess it up, the client, they don't always know it, honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
They really don't. Unless they've had 5 people and they had an agent come at 1 and you come at 2:30 and someone's coming at 4. Most people are pretty cool. And by the way, you've met this person at Sarah's cookout or whatever it was. So you're not cold. Yep. So I'd like somebody to really quick jump on. Let's do 2 more. Let's do 1 more scripts. Come on. Paige, you want to do it? You want to be the agent?
Jessica Darling said she'd jump in too.
All right. So Paige and Jessica, let's go. So
okay, what script are we doing?
We're gonna do the consultation. We're going to do the, the connecting questions. We're going to try to get an appointment. Remember, Paige, are you the agent and Jessica, are you the seller?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So Jessica, you're on. You met Jessica at Market Basket the other day. Go ahead.
All right. Sorry, I'm just pulling up the script again. I have Windows open on my here.
That's okay. That's what you do. You prepare yourself before you make calls, and that's okay. So ring, ring when she's ready.
Sorry. So these are the like who, what, when, where, why questions.
Yeah, that one.
Okay. I think I'm almost in the right place here.
We're patient. This is learning. We're in a safe environment. That's what we do.
Perfect. All right. This is where the double monitor comes in handy here.
Oh, geez. I can't get my thing to stop flying around. All right, so go ahead. Are you ready?
All right. Ring, ring. Calling Jessica.
Hello.
Hi, Jessica. This is Paige calling from Keller Williams Chestnut Hill. How are you today?
All right. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much. Well, I saw you at Greg's Cookout. It was so great to speak with you on Saturday. And after our conversation, I just wanted to see if you had some time to talk today.
Yeah, I probably have about 5 minutes.
Awesome. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time here, but after speaking with you and hearing your plans to sell your house by the summer, I just wanted to get some more information from you.
Okay. All right.
Well, tell me a little bit about your situation. What do you do for work and your family, and what's your lifestyle kind of like these days?
Well, I work from home and I'm doing remote learning with my kids, and I am looking to relocate to some place that's going to be a little bit more recreational for outdoor play for my kids. So I want to sell my house because we don't really have a yard, and the kids being cooped up has just been really horrible.
I totally get that. I feel you. I'm a big child and I'm stuck at home too, so I know how that goes. Do you need more space within your house as well, like office space for learning, or is it more so the outside that you're concerned with?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to upgrade space in terms of bedrooms because they cannot share a room anymore.
Totally understandable. So what would be a good scenario for you in terms of amounts of bedrooms and the area that you want to be in?
I'm going to need at least a 3-bedroom, possibly 4 for an office if there's not a den or something to convert.
Awesome. And is there a certain location that you would really like to be in?
I'd like to be in a good school district still, obviously, and I want to be able to have access to either a really large private yard or have walkable access to a park.
Awesome. Well, I understand right now you live in Boston. Is it the Boston area you'd like to stay within that has a school district, or are you looking to go a little further?
I can remote work from anywhere. So I can do the suburbs. I don't even have to stay in state.
Awesome. Well, I love your flexibility. That gives us a lot of options. Do you have a timeline of when you would like to move?
I'm looking to do it maybe in the summer so that I don't interrupt school.
Perfect. I think that's great. That'll be a nice plan for your family so you don't have to mess with school in the middle of the school year. I think that's great.
Plus it's going to give us time to look because I don't want to be desperate and just picking the first thing.
Absolutely. For sure. And that will give us some time to see what comes on the market in the next coming months. So I think that would be great. And other than that, is there anything else that's really important to you and anything else I should know in your search?
Looking to possibly buy another property for looking to have an alpaca farm, but that's going to be a long-term plan.
Wonderful. I love that. Well, I crochet, so we can maybe link up.
Me too.
Aspect as well.
Would you like to join my knitting club so I can harass you about real estate?
Yes, I would love to. That's wonderful. And so are you looking, I would love to work with you. And I would also like to ask you, are you planning on selling your current home as well?
Yeah, I definitely want to unload the property that I have. I don't see the market inflating more. I think it's going to deflate. So I want to take advantage of the seller's market right now.
Awesome. Well, that sounds like a great plan. And I would love to set up a time to sit down and talk with you if you have some time. Maybe this weekend I could come to you. We could sit outside with our masks and talk a little bit more about the plan moving forward and make a timeline so we can sell your home and buy the home of your dreams. How would that sound?
That's great. Bring your crochet.
Yes.
I'll make some of Tim's famous lemonade.
Yes,
And
preach.
it's 150-foot porch.
People's porches are getting big.
Yeah, right. Awesome. Well, I would love to meet with you on Saturday if you have some time. Would 2 o'clock on Saturday work for you?
2 o'clock is fine.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing you, and I will talk to you then.
All right. Thank you,
Awesome.
Paige.
Good job. So guys, let's start with you too. How do you feel like you did, Paige? How do you think you did, Paige, how did it feel?
It felt good. I'm somebody who likes to talk to people in a way that sounds more like a conversation than a sales pitch. So,
Absolutely.
I like to laugh and make jokes about crocheting and all that fun stuff. So I think in that sense, it went well. I think I started to ask some good questions, but I think as I learn more, I'll have more, valuable questions to ask and it might flow a little bit better. But I feel like for the first time around, it was pretty good.
I think you did very well. You got an appointment.
Yeah.
Right? What do you think, Jessica, as the homeowner? How did you feel? Again, we're in a comfortable.
Yeah, I think she did a good job. It's easy to kind of guide people through things, and when you ask the type of questions that she's asking, so it works out well. And then of course I was sort of trying to throw in some extra business and in there too.
Try to get that knitting club going. But obviously you've made a connection. You have a connection there, so Paige could run that whole knitting club and sell everybody a house.
Right.
Crochet, whatever. Yeah. Anybody else have any comments on that script role play piece?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, Paige, you have an incredibly comfortable style about you.
Unreal.
If you're,
Unreal.
I don't know if you're new, if you are, or even if you're not, I mean, you're going to kill it in this business. Your style is really just very,
amen,
sets the person at ease instantaneously. For me on that, I think you maybe could have done a little bit more rapport building at the get-go. I noticed that you did start to go into the forward questions. Generally, I think it's a good idea to try to do those up front a little bit just to set everybody at ease. You did go into them eventually. It was kind of felt like it was almost a little bit of an afterthought, but she was responsive anyways. And to my point earlier, I thought it was interesting, like you started to go down the buyer path right away. And I think that made sense in this scenario because she was kind of leading you in that direction. If we were approaching her from the seller side in a listing, there's a little bit more information on that side that I think you could have gathered, but she was kind of leading you down the buyer side. So you were naturally kind of gathering that information anyways, but then it did a really good job of kind of circling back on the seller listing side and made it kind of clear that that was the reason that you wanted to meet with her. So I just thought, tremendous job, really good, really good.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And I want to echo that as well. And you did say something very clear, and I don't know the word you used, but I think you said, do you want to sell your house? Obviously, most of the time people have a house before they buy. Not most of the time they have something to sell. And do you need to sell your house before you get onto this rosy plan? So that was a very important question that I don't even think it was on the list, but it naturally came to you. So your instincts are kicking in, which is important. Anybody else have any thoughts on that? Let me ask this. Is Jessica an A, B, or C client category?
C client. Oh, she's like questionable because she's ready, but she's not necessarily willing yet because she wants to wait to the appropriate time for her kids. So she might be able to be swayed to move sooner if the right property comes along, if she can if someone's ready to buy her house, if they try and put that on the market sooner. She's an in-betweener.
Yep.
They're having an appointment now, but
sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead, Vilma.
Oh, to me, she's ready because she said she wants to sell before the market goes down.
Yes.
Listen.
Yeah.
I tried to be really tricky.
I think there was a lot of information in there that if you kept asking questions or when you got to meet with her, that you would discover that her timeline was probably closer than you think. And so many sellers actually disguise themselves as buyers when you're first having conversations with them. So I think that that's the other piece too, is to sort of redirect her to start to think like a seller, right? So that maybe would be the conversation when you got to meet with her, because there's a timeline to selling a home. And when is it that you're trying to be in your next home? You're trying to be in your next home by June. So let's walk that out. The average days on market in this area, this price range is whatever. That means we really need to be ready to be on the market by this date. So this is the date that we should start to aim for. Let's look at the house and see what you need to get ready. And then at that point, start behaving like a buyer, right? So it's like redirecting that order of things. But I think, and that's where as agents, we come in to help them to get organized, right? Because there was a lot of indications in there. I thought Jessica did a good job of being the confused client, right? That doesn't totally know what they
She
want.
wasn't even trying. I'm joking.
Yeah, like you did a great job with that. So yeah, certainly we're always maybe a couple questions away from moving from like a C client to an A client, actually.
What's interesting too is Matt and Vilmer both had completely different viewpoints of where the client stood, which is important. It's always going to come down to our perspective. I think, Paige, if you're not talking to a million people a day, you're doing the universe a disservice. You're super chill on the phone. You're going to do phenomenal in this business. And again, as somebody asked earlier, I don't know if you're new or growing, and I hate the word new, if you're growing or established, like emerging or proven talent in this industry, as soon as we finish here today, get back on the phone or I'm going to track you down and kick you in the face. And I say that with love. That being said, Jessica, I'm a size 10 and a half, 750 Lafayette Road. I need some alpaca socks for the winter. Yeah, you guys did a great job.
I got
this. Great job.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, and I think it's interesting your point, Tim, that different agents had a different sense. Even when you and I were doing it, people had a different sense. So the more it speaks to the point, the more you do this, the better you get at that instinct that I say. And both of us ended up with an appointment. And like Aaron said, once you get into on that deck, again, you're relaxed, you're at their house, but you're still in charge of this meeting. And like, yes, sellers don't know what they're doing all the time. Yeah, they're kind of thinking they want another house. We need to look at both. It's a system here. And that's what we have to put together for them. And this is what you're going to learn as we move forward through Ignite. All the different things. But yeah, you're right, Tim. Paige, you're very, very natural at it. The more calls you make, all of a sudden somebody's going to say, I may not do something for 3 years, but now you're going to go, you know what, I'm going to come over Sunday and let's talk about it. Because until you have the appointment, we're just chatting, so that's always the goal as well. So any other feedback on that piece?
I have a question, and I know this might be more for kind of the buy side, but she mentioned she was very open in her area. I mean, what do you do if someone says, I'm willing to look anywhere between Boston and Springfield? I mean, that's just such a wide area. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but if location isn't super important for somebody, how do you kind of help them narrow that down, or how do you show them 500 places across the state? I mean, how do you?
I know the answer. Let's mastermind. Let's let some of the newer I think I know the answer, but what do you guys think, the students? What do you think? How do we get some qualification going here?
I would say you need to probe for more information.
Probe?
Start close to their location.
I would be doing searches for her in several different areas, especially because she mentioned that alpaca farm, something that she could be looking for long-term. So if you're able to find something like that, or you're looking in areas, she's got a range, so she can work from anywhere. And if you bring, the right property to her that she may not even think is available right now, you've definitely, secured yourself with her, that you have her absolute best interest and you're listening to everything she says.
Okay, so we're gonna probe, we're gonna ask more questions, we're gonna set her up on a search. What else do we do to help this client?
Create a
Yeah.
radius around their current location.
Create a radius, okay, let me keep going. Well,
Determine financing.
I think I would,
who said that? Who said the financing?
Tim Lindsay did.
Tim, you're not supposed to answer.
I didn't. No, it came up because I'm trying to lead people to a conclusion so we can.
You can't help yourself.
Yeah,
So what happens is, guys, price is going to determine where this person's going to land.
And
Okay?
product too, right? Product is going to determine it as
Both,
well.
all
If
of
they
it.
want to use rural or FHA or VA is going to be.
Tons of things, right? So if you're talking, one thing Paige is going to do when she, she says, all right, we're going to get your house sold, this is how much it's worth, where are you going to go? We need to get to the end. Where is this lady going? Where's our client going to land and to have her farm, her dream? Yeah, we need to know what her price point is.
Deb, can I ask a question?
Yep.
This is Joyce from Boston Metro.
Yep.
Can't you ask her also what's the most important three important areas she's looking for? Like if she picks 5 places, can you ask them to pick three of the ones that she most likely would like to? Can you also do that?
I think that's a great idea. I think certainly trying to get them to self-discover really where they want to be. Does she want to have a farm in Boston? Well, you can, but it might cost you some money. It really depends. Yes, but that's a great idea, Joyce. Kind of narrow it down. Not everybody needs a farm, so this is a little bit of an offlet, but what else can we do?
I think you can narrow not only what are your top 3 towns or locations, and if you had to pick one, which would be more important, just to really narrow, but also what's more important, the farm or the schools? And then start
she did say
focusing and narrowing.
schools as well. Yeah.
Can I follow up on, this is Ann from Coastal, on the schools thing though? In my opinion, you got to be kind of careful because what you think is a good school district may not be something that they have a positive outcome with. I mean, if their child is failing in reading, that might come back to you to say, you said this was a good school district. So I think I would have questioned, and what school districts would you be attracted to? And I'll look in those areas. Let them choose the district that they want.
We have to be the source of the source, right? We have to
point
give
them to the
that-
resource,
that-
correct.
That data to say, here is some proven information. Here's the information. Do with it what you will.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's very in fair housing too. We're listening to Anita Hill and we're learning all about fair housing. You have to be careful with all of that stuff. What I think is a good school, my kids did well. My very, very best friend didn't, you know what I mean? It's totally, so we're the source of the source. Here's all of the school, the school, choice for clients to look up. And I think, and that's right, this client she was a little all over like many are. She talked about wanting a good school system. She wants some land for her future farm. This is this first conversation with Paige. She's not going to solve the world's problems. She's going to follow up. We're going to have our meeting, and we're going to self-discover and land where this person is going to end up. When do you think you pull in a financial person here? Anybody have any thoughts on that?
I definitely think that the client should be looking into pre-approval and also be maybe meeting with somebody about long-term goals.
What else?
I would try to give them a few names of different lenders and say, do your research, find out what you're comfortable with in your budget and take it from there.
When does everybody agree that the financial piece does need to come in?
I would have, that's the meeting that she has with her. Like she set that meeting with her. That's definitely something that would be on my list then, because you have to know if what she's buying depends on the sale of her house. Does she meet
It all,
of
it
the house
all,
that she's
it all
in?
morphs together.
Yeah, it all has to come together to find that out. So that's definitely part of that conversation that I would be having with her when we sit down.
Yeah, I agree. Does anybody else have any thought on that? Is it too
Yeah,
soon?
between now and the weekend, when we sit down, connect with your lender. If you don't have a lender, we've got some local lenders you can have a conversation with, because if they require if they require the finances from the transaction closing out to move forward, that's important. We
Right.
need to find out honestly, and we're not really in this window right now with a lot of people, but we got people that don't have equity, people that are short, right? We don't know if they're in a position that they can move. So we got to clarify all that stuff.
Yeah,
More often than
right,
not, they're
it's-
probably not going to enter into a conversation if they're incapable of moving. And some people just don't know, right?
Right. I think
I have a
that's for
question.
Tim. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, so more related to the listing side than the buyer side, okay? So, a lot of times with scripts, what we're attempting to do is identify whether the individual has an agent already. But we're obviously trying to go for the listing. So if you can get a seller to agree to an appointment without bringing that up, is that problematic? In other words, you're getting the opportunity to spend the time with the person, so presumably they're receptive to working with you, but it sucks if you wind up going on an appointment where they're already in a contract with another agent. So I'm kind of curious what the advice is with something related.
Okay, and you're talking the selling side, the listing side.
Correct.
Yeah. No one's going to take an appointment with you if they're in a contract with somebody else. Would the other coaches on the group agree with that or no? What do you guys think?
I'd like to think that would be the case. Maybe for clarity's sake, Maddie, you could just say, are you meeting with anyone else about this opportunity to list your home? Because that's where, and people vacillate on this. I don't know if you want to go in first or last. I like to go in first, quite honestly.
Absolutely.
I want to get there first, right? And because there's a lot of things that we can do to set the bar for everybody else that's coming in after us. Never mind, also just shut it down. I want to meet with these other people. I appreciate that. Is there something we didn't cover today that you're looking for in an agent that me and my team aren't offering?
I think Jeff Glover's perspective is first in, last to follow up.
Yep.
So
Right.
it's interesting. There's some really good stats that are coming in here from NAR National. I want to say it was 79% of agents listing, no, 79% of sellers use the first agent they spoke with.
That's right.
72% of the buyers use the first buyer agent they met. So I would just go in guns a-blazing and assume you're getting the listing. Really, if somebody is already in a contract, I would really find it hard to believe that they would take an appointment. I mean, you met this lady at a cookout. This is clearly, and you're listening, I would be shocked if I went to their house on that weekend and they said, oh, by the way, we're already listed with somebody. I don't know.
We call it crossing a sign. You'd literally be walking past a sign, So unless they're a pocket listing or unless they have signed the contract, they've executed the contract and they're not yet live. But usually within a certain window of time, there can be a coming soon rider on a sign that says that it's coming soon. So the likelihood that would be the case, and if it does happen, Matt, and anybody else on this call, you excuse yourself. Because as soon as you present that paperwork, like, oh, we've already signed this with somebody else.
Yeah.
Like my initial reaction is like, well, then what am I doing here? But
Then
at the
punch
same
them in the
time,
neck and leave.
yeah,
I'm
I
thinking-
apologize.
I'm thinking worst case scenario also is if it comes to that, you have that discovery, is there still an opportunity to build rapport with the person and potentially get, other referrals from them?
It's tricky because you're now meeting with somebody else's client. And I personally agree with Tim. I think you just say, oopsie, geez, I didn't know you're already signed. Good luck. Let me know how things go and maybe I'll find a buyer for your home. But most of the time, it's not going to be the case. So I would kind of get that out of your wheelhouse and out of your mindset there a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes, it
I think
happens more with buyers for sure. Yes,
That
Kelly?
also what Deb said earlier, where you're going to arm yourself. As soon as I hung up the phone with her, I would have gone right to MLS. I would have looked up, I would have put her address in. I would have, pulled even a prior listing sheet. That's
recon.
That I pull it out to see when did that house sell last? What's the information that we have available about her house? Because that's also going to help you pull that. And if you go to MLS and it's listed with somebody else, you're going to be like, okay. So,
Yep.
Maybe she didn't understand, maybe whatever, but you would be able to call her back. And that could
Yeah, you wouldn't even go over.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
you would
where your
have done.
rapport is going to be with that person if it was to happen.
Right, after this call, you're gonna get right on the thing, you're gonna pull the MLS and do a little circle and see find out when they bought it, what they paid for, what the pictures look like when they bought it, if you can find it. You're gonna do some recon. So obviously, if that thing is listed, like you say, Kelly, maybe they thought they could have chats with people when they have their house listed with somebody else. So again, I think if you're working with buyers, that happens more, that they are maybe signed with somebody, or they think they've signed with somebody when they probably haven't actually signed with someone. So on the list end of it, I don't think it's that prevalent. That would just be my read on that.
Yeah,
So,
Jessica Darling had her hand raised. I don't know if she still has a question.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
can you guys address Paige's comment in the chat? I think that's important.
Why can't
Yeah,
I see that?
mine's kind of similar to what Paige is asking about. So like I had brought up the alpaca farm thing, right? So I'm new. I'm still in training for real estate school.
You're not new anymore. You're 7 days in, right, Kim?
I don't have my license yet, so that's what
she's
all right,
she's a seventh grader. She's not even on the
Right,
eighth
right.
grade bus yet.
So, what I was wondering about is like, if you're signed with an agent to sell your home, and first of all, are they automatically going to be buying their home with that same agent? Because I think that's what Paige is asking also.
Yeah.
If you can use them for that business. And then the other thing is with the alpaca farm, that's a completely different property in a different time frame. So would the agent be able to pursue a sale on that property?
Yes. So Paige, what is happening? Where's my?
Paige's question is, if they have a signed agreement with an agent for the listing, could you still talk to them about representing them as the buyer agent? Or is that inappropriate? And I don't feel it's inappropriate. The analogy I use, which, I have a lot of bad analogies. This is number 758. It's almost like walking around and introducing your pregnant wife to people. And they're like, oh, congratulations. You're like, oh, that's not my baby. Like, how is that possible? That is a lack of continuation of the conversation. If you are listing their house and you're not taking them shopping, that gives me brain damage. It makes me want to jump out of a first floor window, although I've seen it happen.
It does.
So
happen.
yes, because both contracts reside separately from one another, right? You can be party to the buyer contract and not be working with the list, only be working with them for the list. And you obviously clearly didn't ask great questions. Because when have you listed a home and assumed they're moving into the woods? Usually 1/4 never does that happen, unless they're joining a militia, which this week might be possible, right? So in the grand scheme of things, they most likely are buying something else, whether it's local or remote. You should be at least connecting them with a referral.
Absolutely,
so it is a possibility to have that conversation, Paige. It's going to be a rarity. And if you stumble upon it and there's no contract signed for them to go shopping with somebody, I would call the listing agent after you close with them on the buy, take them to coffee and ask them what happened, because you probably have a bestseller on your hand.
It's a little bit of a red flag. If we're really taking the scenario into real world, somebody has a listing signed with another agent, they're allowing you to come to their house and sit on their deck, and then they want to work with you as a buyer agent. No, there's too many red flags going on here, potentially. A good listing agent, right? Erin, no?
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm just gonna say sometimes I think we have to remember too, though, that the public doesn't necessarily understand how our business works.
All the lingo, you're right.
So we need to, as listing agents, if we're taking a listing and they have something their intention is to buy, we need to make sure that we're having that conversation with them. Are you going to be buying locally in a state that I'm licensed to sell in, so that I can continue to work with you and take you through this process? If you're moving to another state, I can help you to find an agent that's going to be great for you in that other state, right? That I'm not licensed in, whatever the situation is. I had one situation where I got called off of a listing in a neighborhood to come list this woman's house. she was already under contract to buy something on another property because she walked into an open house unrepresented before I ever knew her. And so she was under contract to buy this property, but she didn't want to use that agent to sell her house. In her mind, she wasn't the listing agent for her. She was the buying agent only. And she didn't even think to ask her, but I had sold another house in the neighborhood. So she called off of my sign in the neighborhood. So I think that was just like a convoluted sort of situation. But at the same time, I didn't solicit that business, right? So if you stumble into that, of course you can take advantage of that situation.
Right, you're right.
So I think it's really being on the up and up and disclosing and making sure that like you didn't sign a listing agreement with this person, you didn't sign a buyer's agency agreement, why was that, whatever, like just making sure that they're not signing multiple contracts with multiple agents.
Right, because they don't always know what they're doing.
They just
what they're
don't
signing.
know. So
Yeah.
I think sometimes
Good
we
point,
just have
Erin.
to, just remember the public, we understand our business, right? But the public doesn't always understand. So
Well, not all of us understand our business, obviously, if we're letting our
well,
listing.
so that's I mean, at the end of the day, we have to ask, right? So are you going to be buying something? Like we need to be direct with that. So
I think Mary O'Neill has something.
Yes, I do.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. This is excellent, all of you. I had this exact situation going on. In fact, it happened this morning. And I got a referral, and through Ignite, I did some homework last week, made a phone call, and that person who's a neighbor referred me to someone. And
that's our next piece. Yay.
Yeah. So anyway, I called the woman this morning. She had asked me to call her, this new person, and we had a nice chat. And the reason I was calling her was because she knew that I might have a listing coming up soon and she might be interested in the property. So I prepared all my questions that I learned yesterday and talked to her. And in the course of conversation, she and her husband will be selling, and we all live in the same town here in Massachusetts, will be selling, and she obviously wants to buy. And so I got talking to her, and then as I learned yesterday, find out if she has a buyer agency agreement, and she does not. But then, of course, I was talking to her. I said, will you be selling your home? And she said, yes. And I asked her if she was working with someone in particular, and she is. I got the impression that she doesn't have a signed listing commitment with that seller. But she said the woman has been very, very nice and helpful and has told us that we'll very likely do well in selling the house. So I had to, I want to be really clear, and I explained to her, because she's not a first time buyer. She's probably a woman in her 30s. But I explained to her, I said, we just have to be very careful. I said, my Keller Williams, my company requires, and I said, it's just appropriate that I not infringe on anything that the other agent would be doing. So the bottom, and I did tell her, I sent her, we have very limited inventory in our town, as do most people. And there are literally only 2 houses on the market in her price range right now. So I told her through MLS, I sent her one of them this morning. And I said, you'll see that they require that you see the house only by appointment. So I did ask her, I said, would you like to meet for a cup of coffee on Friday at 1 or Monday morning, the holiday, at 11? And then I also told her that this property that literally came on last night, which might appeal to her, I said, they require appointments. If you'd like me to meet you and take you through, I can. So I was very careful, because I believe I'm clear that she does not have a buyer agency agreement and probably doesn't have a listing agent agreement. But I've been burned before, where I've spent a lot of time, and then they went to somebody else. So I want to be respectful of that. I don't know who the other agent is, but am I doing this correctly? Because I tried to be very transparent, and a little like Erin just said, sometimes you stumble into it.
Yeah.
And clearly, even though they purchased a home 3 years ago, they don't know the ins and outs of our business. So I'm so eager to get your advice on this. This class has been fantastic, and thank you.
That's a tricky one there.
Yeah.
Well, clarity is power. I would,
Yeah.
honestly, I would just cut right to the chase, and I would say,
ask.
I appreciate this, Stacy. So just to be clear, I want to make sure my team and I are capable of serving you properly. Have you signed any paperwork with this other agent? Has there been any documentation of your relationship? Right? And she's like, well, no, well, I mean, I looked at some stuff, but nothing was signed.
Okay.
I want to be clear.
Clear.
And because we are in such a digital age,
Yes.
have you clicked any buttons? Did you send something through that came through either via Dotloop or DocuSign? And just and be like exhaustively clear with her that I want to make sure that me and my team can get to work for you. And I want to do this professionally. And part of that is clarifying, because it sounds like it's a little unclear right now whether you've just had a lot of conversations with her, or have you signed to work with her? Is she going to be listing your home?
Okay.
Helping you buy.
It does, if I could just jump in, it does sound to me that she hasn't signed. I don't know, but clearly, because I kind of asked the question twice, they like her and she's been helpful and all, but I think I'm 99% sure she hasn't signed with a buyer agent. But is your point that if she's dealing with a seller's agent, I should back off and let that seller be her buyer agent?
Not at all.
You have to, just what Tim says, and this is the advice. I'm going to go here for it, I think. You guys will tell me if you think this is right. You need to call her up and say, look, I really want to help you. And like you said, Mary, you work in a very, very good, high-level professional business, in a high-level office. You have high standards and compliance. We're a compliance crazy, right? I would say, hey, I just want to be really clear. Have you signed anything with this other, give me an overview of what you're doing.
Okay.
You know, do you have something signed? And is this other lady going to be the listing agent? If it's a woman, you said her. Is this woman going to be your listing agent?
Yeah.
And if not, then what are you going to do? And then I would agree. I would say, Erin, you're going to say something.
Well, I was just going to say that I think that this is one of we need to be having really fierce conversations and being direct with people as soon as we can. As professionals, armed with the language of our profession, which is our scripts, the sooner you have the conversation, the sooner you know what's up. And you can just move forward. Like we hear this story all the time, right? Of agents who spent a lot of time warming up a relationship to find out that the person signed a deal with someone else. Technically, is it a violation of our code of ethics? If I met your client, your customer, your person you haven't signed, and I met her at a restaurant tomorrow and I said, oh, you're looking for an agent? I've got you. Let's go. And I handed her the paperwork and she signed it. I didn't do anything wrong. You just spent the last couple months warming her up for me.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so, you know, like we need to really, and that's where read the scripts before you go to bed, get comfortable with them, because the more comfortable you are, the quicker you can have the conversation and don't go showing houses if you don't think someone has an intention to hire you as their buyer's agent.
Right.
You know, if you're, if she's going to sign with this other person as a listing agent, fine. I'd love to represent you as your buyer's agent. And this is what I'm going to do for you as your buyer's agent. They're two separate contracts.
Okay,
right?
great. Great.
They're absolutely two separate. And you're right, Erin. And when you're having a business discussion with someone, you're not at the social event here. You're having a business conversation, and it's perfectly appropriate to bring up these business and this person may not really know what they're doing. And you can say, let me
Yes.
help you figure out what you're doing. And it may
Yeah.
mean you don't get any business, but at least you help this person figure out what the heck they're doing.
Good,
So
good, yeah. And that
clarity is power.
Yeah, thank you all. And that is my question. The bottom line is, can I be her buyer's agent even if she has someone else as a list agent?
Yes,
And
they're
that's,
two separate contracts.
and
Two
he-
separate contracts. Yeah. and
so
you
the
just make
answer is
sure-
yes.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you just don't advise her on anything around her listing.
wonderful. Okay,
Correct.
thank you. That
Just-
was my,
and if
that
she
was my
brings it up,
question.
You say, I'm sorry, I'm working with you on your buy. I
Yeah.
cannot talk to you about your listing. I hope that it's
Right.
going well. I'm gonna refer you back to whoever it is you hired for your listing.
Okay, great, great.
Wonderful. Good,
Mary-
good case
Wonderful.
study.
Mary,
Sarah,
the
you
line-
have a question.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, Sarah's got her hand raised.
Go ahead.
No, it's not so much a question. I just wanted to comment on that as well. I had a friend who reached out to me who was interested in buying a house, and we talked all through it. We went through everything. I started setting up with her search
Uh-oh.
for her,
You're,
and oh, am I breaking up?
Yeah.
Mary,
kind
your
of
audio's
muffled.
not good.
Live from the bottom of the pool. Go ahead, though. Yeah,
I'll type it in the chat box. No worries.
that's okay.
All right,
Mary,
somebody-
Mary, I was going to say the line I would use when I was in production is one of the things our clients enjoy about the way we do business is we don't operate in shades of gray. And that's what's great about the contract. The paper is white, the ink is black.
Okay,
Yeah.
Right?
great.
We don't
Great.
function in shades of gray. So there was a question from iPhone user. I don't know who it is. iPhone user asked a question. One thing I'm having trouble with right now is my listing prospects are scared to list before they know where they're buying. And I'm having trouble leading them through the conversation. They're so worried to move forward and they've gridlocked themselves. They want to look for a new home, yet their purchase will be contingent upon the sale of their current home, which is a layup for
All right, we
either
can
Deb or
we can
Erin to answer.
mastermind on that a little bit.
Yep.
Are we, first of all, is everybody comfortable with the level of our discussion here? I mean, we're talking about, are we good to go
Yeah.
on this?
Excellent.
So this is something that we as listing agents need to be in very good communication and understanding of what the buyer agents are up to and what the buyers are doing. If you, I don't know if your market center has buyer panels or how you guys communicate with each other. For a seller, iPhone, whatever your name, you can tell them in Massachusetts, we have buyers that are making offers and giving sellers 6 months to find a house, literally. And a lot of listing agents, because they're so in the world of being a listing agent, they don't always know exactly what the buyer agents are really creating and how they're making deals for their buyers. And this is something that just came to my attention at the end of the year in one of our buyer masterminds. One of the guys said, hey, my people are given 6 months. And then the seller, now all the listing agents called up all their people, and they said, hey, we're hearing out there that the buyers are giving people 6 months to find a home. Now, I don't know if that's happening in New Hampshire or what, and they're listing property and they're writing, seller needs 6 months to find a home. Buyers are flying in and putting deals together. So part of a listing agent is understanding what the trend of the buyer agents are doing. Does that make any sense?
Interesting. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
I
have
don't
that
know.
situation going on right now.
Oh, tell us more, Kendra.
So I have a condo. My clients need to find a multi-generational sized home, which is not easy to find right now in moving condition. And the buyers, really wanted the condo, and they said, you know what, we'll give them till July 1st to find a place to go, because it's a unique situation. It's just not your cookie cutter 3-bedroom, 2-bath house that they're looking for. They need 5 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. So and I was like a little bit skeptical, but as I talked to them, they rent. I made sure they rent. I made sure there wasn't any other type of home sale on the other side. And, the less little caveats that were connected with these buyers, the better.
And I love that story. And again, clarity is power. Contracts are very important. We want to make sure that we're getting this done really correctly. And if Kendra's buyers need this 5-bedroom multi-gener, 25 other people probably need it too. or not 25, but there are other buyers that are going to need that. And if they don't have their house under contract, they are not going to do well when they make their offer finally on the house that they've been hunting for. You know, people. So what does everybody else think about that scenario? Any feedback from other buyer agents or listing agents in the group or coaches? Have we heard this?
Deb.
Yeah.
So it's not really a new phenomenon because many years ago, I owned a condo and I wanted to leave the condo and buy something else. And the people that wanted my condo didn't care how long. And this was a really long time ago. They wanted the condo and they said, we'll rent it back to you until you find what you're looking for.
Right. Right.
So, you know, things go in like cycles, but
Yeah.
this was, I won't tell you because it'll tell you even how much older I am than I am. But it's, it didn't surprise me. It did at the time as the, you know, seller. I was like, really? That's awesome.
Right.
Because it took a lot of pressure off me finding a home.
Right. So these dialogues, these things that we learn here in these classes, when we have these conversations with, if I go to Tim's house on Saturday and they hit me with, well, we're not going to do anything until we find what we want. I'm going to be able to say, you know what, you're going to find what you want, but you're not going to get it because your house isn't sold. So we need to make sure that as we are working with listings, we have all the tools in the toolbox to advise them the best we can. Again, it's what we know that's going to help them know that we're going to help them get where they want to be. Other comments on that? And then I'd like to take a break if you guys are okay.
Sure.
What do we have as any more feedback on that particular topic? I love that topic. I think.
Can I ask a quick question just back to what I guess iPhone asked? I mean, I guess if you're selling, if you want someone to list with you and you're pushing, you know, there's not a lot of inventory, but then on the other end, they will need to buy something, but that's when not a lot of inventory is not a positive. So yes, I mean, maybe you'll find someone who's willing to do, a seller is willing to do 6 months out or, you know, lease it back to them. I don't know. In my experiences, which isn't a lot, that's not that common. So how do you justify pushing someone to sell because there isn't a lot of inventory, but then what are you going to buy after that?
So you protect them with the contract. So you talk to them about the ways that you can protect them. The big fear is being homeless, right? That's
what, Erin, your volume is a little low.
I don't know why I'm having like output problems with. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
It's not great, but keep. So you said protect them with your the contract.
Right? I can hear you.
With the contract, because the big fear is homelessness, right? Like that's my experience has been that everybody's afraid they're gonna not have a home, or they're gonna like, what am I gonna do with my animals? What am I gonna do with all my stuff? All of that stuff. So you walk them through the process, right, and line up for them what needs to happen first. There is a sequence that has to happen. If you're behaving like a buyer without something to sell, when you have a house to sell, it may not go your way when you're making offers, right? Because you're going to be up against people who don't have to sell a property. And that's true in any market. That's not this market specific situation, right? So how can we get you set up and how can we make sure that you have time to find what you're looking for, to sell your home? And, you know, well, we can do that by putting in a home sale or a finding suitable housing clause, right, into the contract.
Perfect. Yep, perfect.
Right?
Exactly.
So we can do that.
So Scott, you have to, so you want to make sure that dialogue is internal for you, that you say, I know it sounds crazy, but you're going to hit a wall when you try to buy the house you want because your house is not under contract. There's too many buyers you're in competition with. So I know it sounds scary, but I have your back. Contractually speaking, we're going to make it work. You're not going to sell your house unless that buyer is going to agree with what you need. And then now they have their house under contract. So you don't have to sell the house just because you have it listed, you know, right?
If
So-
they really want the house, they're going to agree to the suitable housing clause.
That's
gonna
how I
agree
bought
to
my
it.
house.
Your clients are in complete and total
Thank you,
control of
Matt.
the entire the
Right.
entire conversation, the entire transaction. Go ahead, Maddie.
I bought my house July 2019. We put our offer in March 2019. We didn't move in and close until July 2019 because the sellers had their home inspection that week of March, didn't go well, didn't like that house, dropped out from that purchase, and then continued to look for another 4 months. We really wanted that house, so we waited. We were in a position to be able to wait. But yeah, so, you know, if they decided that they couldn't find another house, they could have turned us down and said, hey, we're not moving. But so
Right.
their seller's agent had their back, had them covered.
Right.
And we were very, you know, like easygoing about it. Didn't have to, like, we weren't trying to force them out. So
Right. And as list agents, we need to understand these things. And as buyer agents, you need to say, hey, look we're in a really it's hard to be a buyer right now, but guess what? Your interest rate is 2 something or 3%.
yeah, I mean, we did that in
That's
2019.
why.
So it was before the prices went up, before the interest rates went down a little bit. But again, we were in a good position to wait. And it's a house that we wanted, and you know, we just kept getting extensions. So
it really depends on the scale and where these buyers are. You
yeah,
know.
I'm in
Guys,
Ashby.
a
I'm right
friendly
next to you,
reminder,
Deb.
too.
I'm in Ashby, Deb. I'm right next to you.
Oh, okay, cool.
Friendly reminder for everybody, Erin put in the chat, we are in a multi-state regional class right now. So please connect with your managing brokers and your TLs and your coaches
Very
about what
good.
the language and the legalities are for your particular state. Kendra Dickinson has her hand up.
Hand up. Kendra, what do we got?
I found that one of the, I run into this quite a bit because I make sure I capture the buy side if I'm listing, unless it's out of my realm. Be very transparent and straightforward. Say to anybody who comes through, if you have an open house or, you know, you're setting the appointment, say to that buyer's agent, my folks have a suitable housing contingency.
Yeah.
They're looking for a unique property. They are not able to go into temporary housing. We need a flexible buyer, and
Yeah.
put it right out there, right out of the gate, because then you're
Absolutely.
setting the right standard. And if they still write an offer and ignore it, like on that condo, I had somebody write a cash offer and they wanted to close by the end of the month. Obviously, they ignored everything I told them. They obviously didn't get their offer taken. Don't be afraid to just put it right out there, because what it does is it makes it very clear. It'll eliminate people hopefully from wasting your time who don't have that type of flexibility. And you're setting that standard right out of the gate with the other agent.
And I agree with that, Kendra. And you're helping the buyer agents be able to do their job better, you know, because they know how they can formulate their offer. You know, if they may have a buyer that needs to sell something to buy that house, and they can say, hey, why don't you do that? Now you can get your house on the market and find some, you know, it all could work. So again, be very clear that your local market center is understanding. We're not lawyers here. We're not supposed to be writing all of these fancy things up. So always, you know, get correct language from your TL, your OP, or, you know, whoever's helping you with these things as newer agents. Don't be creating all kinds of things. But the more clear you are on your MLS and the more clear you are with everybody, it does help the market move along forward, which ultimately for these buyers is better, because now they will have 3 houses to pick from instead of 1, because there's more inventory, which is going to make the market shift a little bit. So would this be a good time to pause for 5 minutes or so? We're running a little long. We're kind of a little bit ahead of the thing. We're moving toward listing presentations, but we're really just, so what do you think, Erin?
Yeah, Deb, I'm fine with taking a break. I think that's a great idea. One I just put in the chat, just to be really careful about the language that you're sharing. Always remember that if you're a listing agent, you're working for the seller, right? So if the language that gave me a little bit of pause in that last statement was the seller is looking for a very specific kind of home. You could
Yeah.
be discouraging offers with that kind of a statement, and unless you have specific permission to share that with your seller, you just want to be careful, because you may be oversharing and not be intending to. So certainly if we have a home sale, a housing contingency, we are going to disclose that, right? But we don't need to disclose the nature of what they're shopping for necessarily.
Right, the what.
Yeah.
And I think too, whether they're looking for something super specific or just something regular, it's still hard for them to find it. So
Right.
it doesn't matter what they're looking for. It's hard to find because there's just not much to pick from. And when they find it, there's 20 other people wanting it, at least in our area. So why don't we take a break and come back at 11:15? Would that be okay? Is that too long?
Yep, be great.
All right, cool. And we'll just sort of wrap up and we'll do some more Q&A. And I think so far, I think we're all learning a lot. And I love doing the scripts and role play. And I
It's
love it,
excellent.
the questions are really what works. It's what helps us learn.
Great,
So cool.
thank you. Good.
All right, Dynamite. How do I get this thing off screen share? Boom. Do.
Deb, I'm going to log out, turn my computer off, and turn it back on to see if I can get my sound to work better.
Should have
Right,
got
if
a
anybody
Mac.
could tell me why my thing keeps floating up,
I'll be
What'd you
back
say,
in a
Tim?
minute.
I was just telling Erin she should have got a Mac.
I know, I
Oh.
know.
No, Macs are
That's good though. You
crazy.
got a great deal on it. It's awesome. It's really good.
All right, guys, we'll see you 11:15.
Hey guys, if anybody has any questions, we are here before we get started again.
Tim, can I ask you a quick question regarding that eval thing that you sent over yesterday on that other session?
Sure. I don't think I sent it over, but go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Somebody did, but I couldn't find Lorna's name anywhere in the drop down, so I couldn't.
Yeah, so you have to go to other. If we're not cool enough, which Lorna and I currently aren't cool enough, you have to just fill in other.
Okay.
And you just put in Lorna Helms, or you could write in Lorna's awesome. Why isn't she on this list, Gary? But you probably shouldn't do that. So just do the drop down and drop her name in there.
Okay, and we're doing it's like the Spark 7, I think it was yesterday. Or
Yep, we're on
Spark 8.
8 today, so you can do the same thing for Deb Hayes today. We really appreciate it because they're seeing in Austin. They get to see that we're doing this regionally, and it helps everybody.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Cool. Oh, all right. It's late. All right, got sidetracked. All right, guys, how's everybody doing? Feeling better? Had water? Ready to rock and roll? Good. What do we think about this morning? We doing well? We learning? Give me one thing that you like so far.
I'm liking all the feedback from all the agents. This is Michelle from Keller Williams Gateway, and I'm learning a ton from what's coming through the chat and the questions that people are asking and what's coming out in conversation in these Zooms. I find it very, very helpful.
Yeah, yes. Anybody else?
Yeah, I like the fact that this is Debbie from Keller Williams Elite, Foxborough, North Attleboro, Massachusetts. I really liked this time that we did instead of going to the breakout sessions, that the first scripts were with the coaches and then offering for the other agents to do the next one. I think that was very helpful being a new agent to kind of hear the coaches go back and forth first. And I thought it was much more informative than a bunch of new agents going into a breakout session that are like,
Right.
So I thought that was very helpful. So thank you with that.
That's good feedback, Deb. I would do scripts and role play all day because really that's what you guys need to do. Yeah, it's kind of good to have, a couple of the experience. And I think as we go forward and we know, and Tim and Jen, people just they get weird. They don't want to do it. And I think it's too bad because it's just so much better when you have done it and you've heard other people. And that, again, that whole hardwired piece, which I think is important. One more.
Appreciate the feedback only for the fact that I got dropped into a breakout room yesterday, and it was just me and one other person. They had their screen off and their mic muted. And I'm like, okay. I was like, being in a 7th grade dance again, standing against the wall, waiting to not get picked, so I was just like, all right, this is pretty heartbreaking. My 49-year-old ego is shattered. And then we went back and, so yeah, I think doing it in this format, keeping the conversation in a stadium format where everybody can witness what's going on and have the entire conversation, we'll probably plow through with that moving forward if people are finding that to be a better
just
value.
Easier. And the more you do scripts, the more likely that whole ring, it's almost like that thing. Ring, you're going into a script. As long as you kind of have a little sense of what you're doing, you should be doing it a lot. And I guarantee you'll appreciate it. Yes, the coaches. Okay. So, all right, guys, let's just move along. We're kind of wrapping up. Actually, we're a little bit technically ahead of schedule, I think, but I personally like all of the interaction, all of the questions, all of the feedback, and it's good for us as coaches to hear what you guys need, because we can go through these presentations and, I know Zoom is weird, but it's definitely, I don't know. I personally think it's much better for you all to learn from lots of different trainers. We all have different styles and we all bring a different level of experience to the table, whether it's a weekend or 30 years. Everybody has something to add. And I think that's really important. And it's, I think it's the best process. So let me go back to my screen share. We're going to be kind of moving forward a little bit here. We've dug in pretty deep on listings, why we want them. What do we do when we meet somebody at a cookout? What is our follow-up plan? What do we do when we get to their house? What do we do before we get to the house? So we're going to be looking into this next little bit of a piece about the pre-listing questionnaire, and we'll talk about that a little bit. And let me go back to my thing here. In your program somewhere, there's something called the pre-listing questionnaire in the Ignite toolkit, right? Hold on. And you might want to dig that out. Basically, I don't know why they don't have it full screen and we could scroll through it. It's a little bit more detailed than what we've done so far with our 5 or 6 questions, the who, what, when, where one. So it's a little bit more detailed, and it gets a little bit into more of, a little bit digging into a little bit what's their comfort level in terms of finances and so forth. So I would suggest getting into finding that. You know, you want to have in your, I always say in your bag or in your folder, all your listing contracts always. And this pre-listing questionnaire is a good one as well. So make sure you have that at the ready at all times. And remember, when you're on the phone in front of your command, you know, you might have that tab up with that. So you want to make sure. And if you look at it, basically it gives more questions like, how did you hear about me? Where are you moving? What's motivating? How soon do you have to be there? It's a little bit more the questions are spelled out a little deeper. They're not so salesy sounding. So definitely open that up, do some practicing, do some scripting with a friend, or and I'm sure everybody says this on every Ignite, find yourself a script partner and let's just put it in for 10 minutes every day. Does everybody do Script Center? Yes?
Yes.
No? Yes. Paige, did you say yes?
Yes. I lost a little bit of signal. I think you said, are you asking that we do script practice every day?
Yeah.
Yeah, I found Matt, who's on here. We do script practice at 8:30 every morning before we sign in. And my market center also does script practice every day at 10:30, which I'll do once we're done with Ignite.
Awesome. Good, good. Well, I'm glad. And I think it's pretty apparent if you know your words, it's much easier to say them. Kind of get those marbles out of your mouth. So this is asking for another thing. And I feel like we've already done scripts and role play, unless you guys want to go for it one more time. Thoughts?
Why not? We're on a roll.
Let's do it. Who wants to be the agent? Who wants to be the seller? Everybody okay? Let's do one more and then we'll critique. All right, who's gonna be the agent? Who's gonna be a seller?
I'll be a seller.
All right, Donna, you're gonna be a seller. You've got your house. Who wants to be the agent that they met? They met Donna somewhere. They haven't worked with her and they haven't seen her for 12 years. Raise your hand.
I must be really scary looking.
You're scary, but that's okay.
Andrew Cerrone looks like he's dying to do this.
All right, Andrew, he's on it.
All right. There it is.
Okay, I'm gonna
Perfect.
set the
Love it.
stage. Andrew, you know Donna. You used to work with her a long time ago and you haven't talked to her forever. So you're gonna call her up. Go.
Oh, boy.
Yep, that's okay. Ring, ring.
Ring, ring.
Hello?
Hey, Donna, how are you?
Who's this, please?
My name's Andrew Cerrone. I'm with I'm with Keller Williams Leading Edge.
You sound familiar, Andrew. Do I know you?
We met at a barbecue at my cousin's house about a couple weeks ago. And I just wanted to touch base with you and let you know that I'm in the real estate industry. And I just wanted to see if you had some time to talk with me.
I'm just trying to remember the barbecue. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Sometimes I have senior moments.
Oh, that's quite all right.
Oh yeah, Andrew. I know you. Sure. What's up?
Nothing. I just, I was just wondering, I heard that you were interested in buying a home through one of my friends. And I just wanted to see if you'd be interested in maybe sitting down with, chatting with me and to see, what you were looking for, or, maybe we could get together and maybe I could represent you or something, or I'm not really sure, where you're at this time.
Well, you might be slightly misinformed about me looking for a home. I probably spoke to Tina that we might be looking to downsize, but I'm not sure I'm there quite yet. So, and I really don't feel comfortable having, like, I haven't really met you other than being introduced to you at the barbecue. So I don't really know you. You're a friend of a friend's. So I'm not trying to be difficult with you, Andrew, but I feel like I should know a little bit about you before we jump right into like a business agreement.
Okay, I definitely understand that. I know you don't know me, but if you were interested at some point in time, maybe I could reach out to you, or you could reach out to me. I have a lot of things that you could use, comparative market analysis and different types of things. If you were interested, I just wanted to put it out there for you, and if you ever needed anything, or if you had any questions or anything like that, or if you were looking for something. I'm there if you need me, or if you were interested in using me.
Well, that sounds, you know what, Andrew, you do sound like a nice guy. I didn't mean to give you a hard time, but you kind of like jumped right in, and I wasn't prepared for the conversation. So what I'll do is, how about if I give you my email? You can keep in touch with me if you like, but at the moment, I'd rather do that. I'll give you my email. It's donna@123.com.
All right, I'll do the timer. Ding, 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 ding.
That'd be great.
Guys.
Yeah.
Well, this is why we do it. This is why we do. And my apologies, we probably could have set it up a little bit better, but sometimes this is how it does go. How do you think it went, Andrew?
I think it was kind of rough. I don't think I was totally prepared. I didn't have the thing in front of me, and I think, and I'm usually not like that. I'm not like really a pushy person. I like to ease into it. So I think I was too aggressive with her. I should have been a little more, I should have went into it easier, I think.
What do you think, Donna? How did you feel?
So I've been in sales for my whole life, and I found him to be, I don't mean to insult, it was very salesy to me. He didn't ask me, he basically jumped, I met you at the barbecue to, I heard you wanted to sell your house.
Well, we didn't set it up well either. Yep. So you know what I mean? We really didn't set it up well. It should have, but sometimes if you do call somebody and you did hear, we need to work on language about that, how to improve that, would we agree, right? Because you do hear, and that's almost the next piece that we talk about here in the program. It's crazy. You just never know what kind of lead that you're going to get. Somehow or other, Andrew heard that Donna was going to buy something. So we need to make sure that we kind of threw him on the spot and he had to jump in, which you did well, and so let's reverse it. Donna, how about you call Andrew, and you met him at a cookout? Want to do it that way?
Yeah, I was gonna say real quick, I hope Andrew and I are still friends. And the reason, he was leaning into his camera, and he's such a charming individual. I couldn't help myself, and I picked on him. We wanted to highlight there was how many people on this call, Honest Abe, raise your hand if you would have been horrified if I called on you. You suddenly would have had an internet glitch, like, oops,
I can't.
yeah. So Andrew unmuted. probably burnt me in effigy in his heart. And he leaned into it and he did it. What I've learned is I don't go to enough barbecues. Donna apparently goes to so many, she lost track of which barbecue she met him at. And yeah, there wasn't that we didn't have the rapport. And Andrew, ultimately that was winging it. So if you're an agent that has been winging it and you feel like you just watched a car accident, that's what it's like when you're calling your people. So let's make sure we're scripting, because if Andrew had context around the conversation, was prepared to go in with some notes and was a little more prepared, that would have gone wildly different for him.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
I picked on Andrew on purpose, and Donna has been doing sales her whole life. So 28 years, I understand. And that being said,
Thanks, Tim.
You're welcome. And we don't want to come across as salesy. So, could the conversation have been set up better? Sure. I was making a point by throwing Andrew right into the fire, because that's how we behave when we're not scripting on a regular basis. If you go out to try to play 18 holes and you haven't hit a bucket of balls in weeks, it's going to go horribly wrong. Join me Saturday. I'll prove it to you. Right. So let's just make sure that we are doing our homework and we're ready to go into these conversations on a regular basis, because we are constantly scripted. When you tell yourself the scripts don't sound like me, it's because you're not scripting, right?
Right. So I think that's a good point, Tim. And I agree. Yes, absolutely. The more you do this, it's awkward and weird, but it's better to do it with Donna than doing who's okay, or somebody in the group or somebody in your office and we really didn't have that script out there, that says this is how you handle somebody who you really haven't talked to, but that's called the referral script, and that's in the script book. Hey, my friend Joe said that you, Donna, might be selling your home. How can I help you? Put that piece together, because Andrew's discussion was, hey, I heard that you were going to sell your home. He probably heard it from someone that Donna knows. So when you go back into the toolkit, you'll want to dig through and find the one that is called referral, because, and this is the next piece of the presentation almost. Yes, you talk to people who want to sell their home. We're talking to Paige and, everybody else, and Tim, they're going to sell their home. When you're making your 10-4s and your DTD2s and you're talking to people, a lot of times people say, you know what, I'm not selling, we're solid. But my nephew's going to sell, or the guy at work is going to sell, or my neighbor, something's going on, or my friend at work. So part of your discussion with your calls in your nurturing and your relationship building is to say, hey, do you know anybody else who's looking to buy or sell or invest in real estate? I know you guys are cool and you're all settled. Do you know anybody else who's looking to buy? Who can I help?
Yeah. Who do you know that we should know? Who do you know that we can help? Right.
Who do you know that I should know? And I promise I'll take good care of them. And then now, Andrew, you get a name. Oh, my friend Donna, she's probably going to be selling, So now Andrew calls up and say, hey, I spoke to Lauren and she's a friend of mine. And she mentioned that you might be selling. How can I help you? I'm here to help, So again, find those scripts, and because that is a big piece of your lead generating, and that can be a huge piece, because you don't know, and don't forget that third level of, do you want to buy or sell? Or if not, go in a little deeper, and find out, who they know, because people do know. And if they say, no, I can't think of anybody, you always want to say, well, if you're driving around later and you think of somebody, give me a ring. And I'm going to call you and I'm going to follow up with you and see how things are going. And I hope the dog's doing well and have fun on your trip or whatever. And again, you're keeping all of these notes in your command, right?
And the one thing, Andrew, that I would recommend, and for everybody listening, that a way to put a bow on it, the way it was left, because Donna obviously has a heart of gold, and she was giving you like the lowest barrier of entry to get in touch with her, right? I'm going to give you the email I never check, right? Donna@leavemealone.com. That's fine.
She was giving
you got
him
the
a
email.
real one, I could tell.
So what I'm going to say at that point is, Donna, I really appreciate the opportunity to stay in touch with you. How could I offer you value? What could I provide in the coming weeks to keep you engaged with the current market? So when we do reconvene, when I do call you back, and for your greatness, tell her you are calling back. When I do get back in touch with you, we'll have something to cover moving forward, right? Ask her,
Right.
ask her how you can create value with what you got from her, because she did give you the email. Don't just write that on a 3M note and stick it to your fridge.
Yeah.
You want to move forward. That's part of the follow up and follow through portion of the program, right?
Yeah, and that's a good point, Tim. Andrew, now that he's had that little conversation, she's been nice enough. She was very good to give, and I think it would have been a real email because she said, you sound like a nice guy. I'm going to give you my email, because she didn't make a connection with him really. Now
Yeah.
he gets right onto command. He's going to do a task. He's going to call her back in 2 weeks, right?
Yep.
And say, hey, just checking back in, Donna. How's everything going? And now he's building his relationship with her. He's at least had a conversation. She sounded kind of nice. Commentary from you, Donna. Any thoughts? It looked like you had something to say.
No, I was just gonna say, I think, I didn't, I totally didn't mean to be tough on Andrew, but I guess when I felt like he was kind of starting off a little bit, maybe not where he should have started off, that I wanted to say, okay, I get it, but, he needed to be, the first thought that popped into my mind when he jumped into his pitch was basically, that's when I would have maybe I don't know the scripts by heart yet. Sorry, Tim. I would have jumped into maybe the care call thing.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have nothing else to say to anybody, ask them how they're doing with the COVID thing. How are you doing? So again, this is why we practice in these environments, so that we're okay when we call somebody. And it really depends. If you're going to pick up the phone, you should have some plan of what you're going to say. And if it's simply just you're on the DTD2 and you haven't talked to them in a quarter, since last quarter, just follow up. Hey, Donna, how's everything going? But that scenario was thrown at because it was really a referral. So again, pull out those scripts, find that script book in the toolkit, and look at them, read them, practice them. So whenever you're called on, because all of a sudden that's going to happen to you, people will, and it's not going to take long. And any agent that's been around, it doesn't take long. Once people know you're an agent, you won't go anywhere without people asking you 3 things. What are the 3 things that they're going to ask you? Anybody know?
How's the market?
How's the market? And what's your answer, Mary?
Okay, I mean, I'll unmute myself. Very active.
Yeah. Okay.
Depends. Are you looking to buy, sell, or invest?
Would
Pardon
I
me,
say,
Matt?
would I say that right away?
So people always say, hey, Mary, nice to see you. How's the market? Is it busy?
It really is, Deb. Very, very busy.
Yeah, I heard that there's no houses to sell. I mean, no houses out there.
Well, they sell quickly. They sell quickly. And I think too, this time of year, because I had somebody actually mention that to me last night, this time of year, it can be a little bit slower, but I clearly anticipate that there'll be more coming on, certainly by mid-February, early March.
And what should she say next? Anybody know?
What should I say next?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. What do others think?
What do you guys think she should say next when I say, how's the market?
Mortgage rates are super low.
Are you interested in buying or selling?
You got it, Matt. Mary,
is it?
When
Okay.
people go, people go, how's the market? I heard there's no houses. You go,
Mhm.
yeah, there's no houses. Everything sells like hotcakes. Everything flies off the handle. You might want to say, why do you ask? Are you thinking of selling?
Oh, okay. Okay,
The
great.
second thing what's the second thing people always ask? And we'll move forward here, but what is the second thing people always ask? Anybody know?
What is my house market?
No, that's kind of the same one. What's the second thing?
What
Is it
are the
buyer,
interest-
seller? What are the interest rates? Did someone say?
Yeah, yes.
Yes, that is exactly. And we know this from experience. The market, what are the interest rates now? Obviously, you don't know because they change every minute. You say
Yeah.
they're hovering under 3. Why do you ask? Are you thinking of making a move or what's, okay? What's the third thing they always ask?
Why are prices so high?
Yeah, how do you answer that? Matt, answer your own question. How would you answer that? Why are the prices so high, Matt?
Right now it's a seller's market, so inventory is a little bit more scarce. So sellers have the advantage to ask for more than what for what they're looking to get out of their home. And they kind of have the upper hand on buyers right now because the market is limited. So they're able to get a little bit more for their home than when the inventory is more in a buyer's favor.
That's cool. Now what do you ask, Matt?
Why are you interested in selling or buying?
Yeah, remember that follow-up question? I learned that from somebody, I don't know who, and I love that. Why do you ask? Because everywhere you go, once you're in real estate for about a week and everybody knows it, people ask you every cookout, every play, every football, everywhere you go, in the log you're in it, you really get it.
What are
Big
your
shower. Pardon me?
What are your thoughts about if somebody wasn't looking to sell their house but the market's good? Do you think it's okay or advisable to be like, hey, if you got a house, now's the time to sell it, even if maybe they weren't thinking about it before?
Yeah, you could say that. Say, I don't know if you've ever thought about selling, but the market is crazy. We have buyers, 20 buyers for every house, and you want to know your own data. But we have a lot of buyers out there. If you're even thinking about making a move, now's the time. I'm comfortable with saying that. I don't know what other coaches think.
Yeah, the only I love Maddie Howard's got some great scripts. I would probably personally I would probably stay away from the sellers have the upper hand line, only for the fact that invariably if somebody's going to sell their house, they're also going to buy, right?
Yeah.
The words I would use right now is in the current market, we're seeing sellers are grabbing maximum value.
Okay.
Right. And then conversely, buyers are experiencing the lowest rates in history. Right.
Great.
Not like, hey, if you want to sell your house, it's a great time because buyers are screwed. Oh, cool. You're buying too. Like, yeah, let me punch you in the back of the neck while you sign that paperwork. Like it sounds very disingenuous. I mean, and that, again, that's for me. So I would probably stay away from using language like upper hand.
Okay. I agree with that, Tim.
Automatically it sounds adversarial because there's going to be two moving parts here for any of our consumers that are selling and buying.
Yeah, so makes perfect sense. And just to jump on that point and what Jessica said is, you can always ask someone if they're interested in selling now, if they thought about it, but a lot of other things come into play, right? For example, my father-in-law is thinking about selling one of his rental properties, and for him, it's a tax thing, right? Like, if I sell this house, like, what's it gonna look like tax-wise, like stuff like that. So like a lot of things that we might not think about, especially as learning agents, as agents establishing ourselves, is like, oh yeah, like, yeah, you want to sell your house, but how's that going to affect you? Even if you're not buying another house, if you have a rental property.
How do we advise someone when they sort of go into that direction?
Well, I'm not an expert. I'm not a lender. Please reach out to, if you have a tax professional or a lender that a financial advisor that you work with, please touch base with them. And if you decide that it's the right move for you, I'll gladly assist you in selling your home.
Yeah. It never hurts for an agent also to have a person you could refer them to. Jessica?
Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, one of the things, the kind of my thought process when I was asking that question about leading someone into selling was the amount of work that you have to put in when someone's not prepared, and the wishy-washiness that you get from people too. I just didn't know with more seasoned people, like if they had experience with that, because I like to see that happening where people are like, they weren't really thinking about it before, so now maybe you have to do more hand holding.
Well, it's all part of that relationship building piece, and in helping them discover where they want to go. You're never going to push anybody to sell their house, no way. But if they may not have realized that the market is really great and might be a great time to sell, you're certainly going to be there for them and we have a strategy meeting to determine whether or not now is the right time. Maybe it isn't the right time. Maybe it is. Maybe they're going to get killed on time. I mean, we don't know.
Yeah, I
So
love that
these-
bit about the taxes. That's a really good point that you brought up.
Right,
Matt.
you don't know. All of these things is, you don't know it. We can't know everything. Our license is only for so many things, you know, real estate. So, but we have people in our database, we have people in our vendor relationships that we have a great accountants, great tax people, great attorneys. We can help you. My team here is going to help you get to where you want to go. So
I think, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I don't have my handhold thing on my computer for some reason, so
Okay.
I apologize. I did notice something that within all the role plays and the conversations we're having now, that certainly the clients don't always have the right questions or know exactly what they want. And so it makes it difficult for us, but there was lots of opportunity I felt to offer our KW app where it's a good time for them to kind of look themselves and maybe kind of get their juices flowing of what they really want or where they want to go. I thought there was a lot of lost opportunity to put that out there. And then it's a good follow-up for us. Hey, what do you think about the app? You know, it's a good way to kind of segue into some more conversations later down the road.
Absolutely, absolutely. You're always coming from contribution, always coming from value, always coming from care and concern and candor as well.
Maddie made a great point about taxes too. When we get into December, especially up and around the Lakes region in New Hampshire, a lot of people are selling their homes, their second homes for tax purposes. And I heard Mary O'Neill say earlier about referencing in a conversation with a buyer or a seller, just being careful with words like things slowing down.
Okay,
The
great.
word that real estate agents invented that I want you to burn out of your memory is seasonality.
Like multitasking.
Stop saying seasonality. We sell
Okay.
houses 365 days of the year. Everyone's
Absolutely.
circumstances are different. There is no right. The right time, as Gary Keller would say, the right time for somebody to buy, sell, invest, or join a real estate brokerage is when it's appropriate for them and their families and their loved
Yeah.
ones, right? So
I agree.
please, let's stay away from it's slow right now. It'll pick up later. Because Mary, the end of your script was, things will pick up in March or April. Like, oh, I
wait,
mean, if
now's
you're
the
going to
time
the
you
island
wanna
for
get
3
that
months,
meeting
I'll
on
jump
the
on that
deck.
boat with you. But like,
Yeah.
let's stay engaged, right?
Great.
Oh, so I
Great.
should wait. You almost future casted them waiting,
Yeah.
right?
Great.
I
So,
agree.
so extract
feedback.
seasonality from our language, please.
Wonderful.
Right.
Thank
And
you.
I'm glad everybody's so open to, challenges and how we're going to improve at all
Yeah.
times. Yes, we've all done deals on Christmas Eve. We've all
Yeah.
signed contracts.
Yeah.
Oh, every last one of us. So as we wrap up here, this is about listing appointments and working with sellers, not listing appointments. Really, the bulk of this conversation was about getting sellers into our world, how to nurture them, how to take care of them, how to get them from A to B to C, how to get an appointment to sit on their deck and put together a strategy plan. Doesn't mean they're going to list their house on Monday. It could be next month. It could be next year. You want to be at all times, at the end of the day, every day, you should go, what do I have for an appointment tomorrow? And one thing I'm on the screen here, just as a, sort of follow-up, it doesn't go too deep into this listing presentation, but when you're working with sellers, it's sort of a three-way job. A, you need to understand what their house is worth. As I said before, I'm going over to Tim's house. I'm going to do a recon mission. I'm going to find out everything about his house, what he paid for it, what it looked like when he bought it. Make sure I'm talking to him that he is in fact the seller, and it's not, maybe there's more than one seller. So there's some, homework that you do. You're going to evaluate what the house is worth. You're going to put together a listing presentation, which is the pretty thing. And they're moving us here to command to go into your designs and start looking at the listing presentations and creating a nice looking one for yourself. They have them in there that's very specific to each house. I personally think that's a lot of work, and you should just do a basic one. So it's a little bit about you and how great of a job you do and your market center does, and then you move it forward. So I want, as a homework assignment, everybody make sure you get in there and and pull up a listing presentation and let's modify it and make it look pretty for you. So you have to evaluate what the house is going to be. And then of course, when you get there, you may change your mind in a good way or a bad way. Then you want to have your listing presentation at the ready. And then you also want to always have your contracts ready to go as well for listing their property. And as we talked about, moving them forward if they're going to buy. We want to secure both sides of the coin. So I think that is something that as newer agents or even agents that have been around forever, it's always good to fine tune and update and make your stuff as current as possible. Right now, they have 2 in there. You know, see what you like. I suspect they'll be like everything else in Command. They sort of hyper focus on a certain piece and they get that up and running, and then it gets weird and then they fix it and then it really works quite well. I don't think the attention has been so much on the listing, but that's okay. You've got a couple to choose from. Let's make sure we get those, you know, get those done well. We're not, I don't believe we should do a listing presentation right at this point because I don't think we're prepared for that. What do you guys think about, I'm going to stop screen share here for a minute. Has anybody started putting together their listing presentation piece? Or maybe your office has them. What are you guys doing? How does it work in your market center? Give me some. Angela's got hers. Cool.
I think I'm too new. I don't have anything.
All right.
I don't know what that.
Well, the
That's
benefit
okay,
is
let's make-
everybody has access. So if you do go into Deb's point, if you go into designs within Command, there is, and they showed there's one that has a white cover,
There's
one that has a black cover. What you'll notice is you move through them, the every page based on the color of the page, they explain this in bold, which you guys should all jump into when it comes to a theater near you, which will be a screen near you, so you can do it on your couch.
Yeah.
When bold comes, they'll walk you through it, and what you'll notice that each page speaks to a different person. So like and Erin's here and she loves correcting me because that's what she does, because I love her. So Erin will correct me because I am definitely going to be wrong. The pages go back and forth.
On
She's leaving and she
standby.
can't wait. She can't
I'm
wait.
on standby.
The pages alternate, and as you see, a black page is logical and a white page is emotional. So as you're going through, when I know that I'm sitting with 2 loved ones at a kitchen table, and I know that she's logical and he's emotional or vice versa, I can sort of play to that, right? And so it really walks you through, and honestly, plug and play. Erin's wicked smarter than I am when it comes to the design stuff, but you can pull your information there, you know, the blank information out of Sally Seller and put in Tim Lindsay. I'd probably leave her picture because the stock photo shot's probably better looking than me. It would confuse the sellers, but we'll get through there. And then moving forward, I'm just going to maybe I can add some things about their house. If you're not super creepy, you could swing by and take a picture of the house. We can't use an old photo from the MLS. That's theft. But I could, especially if it's a friend, I could swing by their house, take a picture, and make that
Right.
part of the process.
And
So now
like-
they do feel it's branded to them, right?
And likely these people might be somebody you know anyways, because again, we're working our sphere right now. And it's okay to drive by. And then when you put your presentation in, you say, hey, I drove by and, you know, it's from my phone. And of course we'll do professional photography if that's what you choose to do.
We'll take
So
a
don't-
bad picture on purpose to prove to them that they should ask for professional photography.
Right,
It's part of your
right.
value proposition. My iPhone 2 is terrible. And yes,
Right.
that's my thumb, right?
Right. So again, don't get in the weeds with your listing presentation. Go in, kind of put one together that's simple. If you have trouble with it, obviously you want to reach out to your tech director at the office. Somebody will help you. But make it nice, make it clean, make it simple, and you can have that at the ready. You know, the more important thing, and I don't know when that is, and I don't think it's in Ignite, but learning how to do a CMA and figuring out how much the house is worth is much more important than the pretty stuff, I think.
Yeah,
Erin?
it's not part of Ignite. You know, your local market centers might have classes on it. I know we have like a new agent week where we have a class on inspections and what happens at how does an appraisal work and how to do a CMA. And
Right.
so I would touch base with your coaches and your TLs to find out your schedule for that.
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, that's what we do. We know, we figure out how much houses are worth and we sell them. You
Yeah,
know,
and that listing presentation from Command is honestly, it's a really pretty script we get to read in front of them. It's driving us through the conversation of making sure we're dotting all the I's, crossing all the T's for them. It looks really pretty to them. It's telling the story of what's going to happen. It's showing them the process. And above and beyond that is keeping us on track so we get through the entire conversation and
right. So we get there, we
fill all their needs.
We do it. Maybe sometimes we'll have, so yeah, so your strategy session is, you know, this is, and if they're ready to pull the trigger, and I'm meeting with Tim and his wife, you go, you know what, let's go for it. Then now we have to move it forward. So it's all good. You guys will all get it. And so we're kind of wrapping up. Does anybody have any, let's talk about a recap. So let's,
excellent.
Where the listing, they're in, Scott wants to know where the listing presentations are within Command. They're over to the left, down at the bottom, called Designs. So you have to plow your way through that a little bit and find it in Designs, right, Erin?
I can post the link specifically. If you have a KW login, I'll put the link on the Facebook group and I'll see if I can grab it right now. If you have a KW login, you can just follow that link, okay?
Right. So let's fine tune our presentation piece at all time. Let's be totally 100%. And I didn't get to that piece when people ask you, what's the market? What are the interest rates? Always, why do you ask? And the third thing they always ask, and any experienced agents, how much did that house sell over there? Or how much is that house over on Elm Street? Or how much is that? That's when you know that you're their real estate agent. When they ask you what's going on over here and they think you know everything in your head, which, you know, sometimes you do. And if you're looking at MLS every day, when I go to the Designs in Command, it's empty. So when you're looking at MLS every day of the week, you do know what is listed on Elm Street, and you do know how much it sold for. So let's make sure that's part of our work. So people are going into Design and they're not seeing it. It's empty. What are they looking at, Erin? Do they have to go into something like search or something?
You gotta go in the library on the bottom right. Like start a
Library.
new one. Like
Yeah,
the plus.
you can do that. The other places, it's going to be under listings. I think it's in the listings tab. So you're in Designs where it says listings, and there's all the different ways that you can communicate and create things in listings. The listing presentation should be in there. But I'm going to find it specifically for you right now, and I'll put the link up.
Great, thank you. Thanks,
You
Erin.
know, like anything in Command, it's a little bit of this and that. You have to weave in and out, but you'll get there. Don't worry, we'll get you there. You'll get it done. What do we have? So we learned about communicating with people, right? We learned to have consultations, so we know connecting. We talked a lot about connecting, right? You know, what else did we learn about today?
Clarity is power.
Clarity is power. Yeah, what are our ahas?
Categorizing our leads.
Prioritizing our seller leads, absolutely. What else?
I like the idea of the putting the wording into the listing to kind of narrow down the types of buyers that might come through for a house in the case of a seller who is dependent upon looking and buying another house to sell that one. I thought that was very helpful.
Right, having some clarity on our words and helping the buyer agents do their job as best as they can and guiding them to bringing in a great offer to your, what else did we hear? I know a couple things. What else? Ahas, takeaways.
I had an aha moment around
Yes.
what Tim said regarding like what the market is like right now. Framing it in a sense that buyers are getting excellent rates.
Yeah,
Changes it from that made it's such a big
excellent. Yeah.
it changes it to an advantage to the buyers rather than advantage to the sellers, which they both have, but that's a really good way of saying it to them.
That was great. Thank you.
All right, and Andrew wanted to rose his hand. He has a comment.
Yeah, I just practiced the Spark script book so that when you do talk to a customer, that you're organized and you have the right questions. So, to that way, maybe, you can get them to be a potential customer.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, because that is really important. Those scripts were designed to move the conversation forward, just like you pull into Dunkin' Donuts. Hi, I want a medium hazelnut milk, it pushes you, then they go, do you want the sandwich? And that's designed to take so much time to get up there. All of these were designed by somebody. Vilmar has raised her hand with an aha.
Okay. I have a question. Where I can buy leads? Because I've been searching and I'm afraid to just go and buy anywhere. And sometimes they tell me that the leads are not good. So
are you a new agent?
No.
Okay, I will tell you guys a couple things. As new agents, everyone's going to call you and try to sell you stuff. They're going to sell you leads. They're going to, we've got referrals, 100 of referrals we're going to give you and sell you and blah, 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 blah. So be prepared for all of those sales calls, okay? I'm not a big fan of buying leads, but I'm just one person here. Obviously, I think a great way to obtain leads is, for now, let's talk to everybody we know. Unless you've talked to literally everyone you've known, I wouldn't recommend spending any money. The next move I would make is do some command campaigns in command and drive some leads to you via that piece. Anybody else want to speak to buying leads? And then we're really at noon,
I
so I don't know.
can't wait to speak to this. So Vilmar,
Right,
I think you
Tim.
said at the
Yeah,
top of your comments that you are afraid to buy leads. I want you to
No,
say,
I do want it. I do want. Well, I'm afraid because you hear so many things going on, and
Yes,
sometimes
ma'am.
they say that they're not great leads.
Yes.
So I want to buy, but I want to buy good leads.
Yes, and I'm about to say something with truthful sarcasm. I want you to remain afraid of buying leads, right? Keep your money in your pocket. The heirloom seeds, if anybody's a gardener, I'm not. I kill plants, but I'm going to use this reference point anyway. If anyone is a gardener, you know what an heirloom seed is. You have heirloom seeds of your greatness that are already in your phone. The video game of what you're doing, Vilmar, to Deb's earlier point is, I'm not calling Vilmar or Paige or Mary or Christopher today to find out necessarily that they're going to sell their house yesterday. I'm finding out how I can serve them. And if there's nothing I can do for them, who do they know that I can serve? Who do they know that I should know? The ripple effect of you having conversations with the people that you know and love and trust is to find out who they know and love and trust.
Right, because they're going to recommend you.
You're absolutely right.
Buy leads, they don't know you from a hole in the wall. Very likely they may already have their own agent. So I'm with Tim.
And if you
We
are
have enough
buying leads, because none of us are here to tell you how to run your business, we're here to
Right,
offer best
it's your
practices.
business,
So
right.
from the throne of Gary Keller, if you are buying leads, are they profitable? Because we hear as coaches all the time, you know what, Timmy, I send X amount of dollars to this one company, and as long as I close 2 deals a quarter, it pays for itself. I don't want you breaking even. If you want to break even, stay home, right? Like that, just push the cards to the middle of the table and stay home. If you are profitable, Gary would argue you should be 3x profitable. So if I'm sending $500 a month to company X for leads, and I am making $2,000 a month, that means I broke even and I was 3 times profitable. Again, I'm not telling you how to run your business. I'm
Right.
telling you, when you look back on the history of your career, all of your business that will be replicable and successful over time is going to be from the people that are already in your phone. I cannot stress it enough.
Yeah. Yep. So I agree. I would be careful on that. You're running lean here in the beginning. You've got expenses outgoing, make sure that you're taking every class that you can on learning how to obtain leads and calling your people.
Thank you. I was hoping that I will get a good company over here, which I
There
do
isn't
not
one.
mind to pay if it's a good lead.
No.
And if it's a
Leads-
seller lead.
Right.
Well,
leads-
Vilmar,
yeah.
I would challenge you, if you're not willing to call the people in your phone, Or
No, I'm doing it. I'm
No,
doing
I
it.
appreciate that.
In
And
fact,
if-
I even have already a listing that is signed. They started in December, and then they call me and they says, no, don't put it yet. Don't put it yet. Let's wait to March. So-
if anyone on this call engages in purchasing leads, I would just ask you that you do the 15th protocol. When it gets to February 15th, and it's the day after Valentine's Day, and you're suddenly not in love with your company anymore, right? We want to look and assess, okay, they promised me for this amount of money over the course of 30 days, they were going to send me X amount of leads. At the 15th of the month, have they sent me half of that number? Did I call? Because Gary will say this too. They might be sending you a bunch of leads and you go back into call bias. I see a name, or I see they're shopping in this neighborhood and I don't want to bother with that person. And we start to not even like you're asking for. And here's the question I'll leave you with. When people intend to buy leads, I'll pick on Paige because I see her face in the top right-hand corner like it's a video game, like a game show. So if Paige is in the Chestnut Hill Market Center, I trust she's in the Newton, Brookline area. So if Paige were to call a company and buy leads today, I trust she's not going to ask for Des Moines, Iowa. She's going to ask for where her face currently lives. And you run the risk, unless you've moved far away from home, Paige, you run the risk of getting your parents' phone number, right? Like you run the risk of getting a phone number of somebody you already know and love and trust. And why would you run that risk? I said, so just really think about what you're doing and where you're putting your money. And until, to Deb's point, you've exhausted your phone, which if you're having great conversations is virtually impossible. And I'm happy to coach you guys through this conversation. 603-834-2856. There's a free phone number. I'll talk you off the ledge.
Well, and to your point, Tim, I feel like it's easy to exhaust through the contacts in your phone if you're really going at it. And I posted this in the chat. But for the people who haven't seen it, I made social media pages and I just did a giveaway on my page.
Yep.
And for everybody who likes my page and tags 3 friends, they're entered in the giveaway. That gives you 3 people for every comment that you may not know already, your friends' friends. And I did an additional entry for people who DM'd me their email addresses. So now I'm getting all these new email addresses from people I don't already know, friends of friends, and that's free marketing. And people will do anything to get free stuff. I spent $45 and I'm already, my phone's blowing up.
Well, that's why I don't understand the lead buying thing at all, because it's about value. It's what you're going to outsource and delegate to other people to do. Are you getting value for it? And this is you don't know how much value you're getting, and it's really not that hard to generate leads. So why pay for it?
Or, and let me just throw out this recommendation real quick. If you are going to if you're thinking you're going to grab some of your hard-earned money and spend it on leads, maybe do it in a different way. And I know a lot of people have heard about the reverse bold 100. So one of our great agents on our ALC went and bought a Ring doorbell. And she did a reverse bold 100, and it was give me a ring for a ring. She posted the fact that she was giving away a Ring doorbell. She posted her phone number on social media and posted the hours in which you could call to get your name in the hat. This was open to everybody, not just the people she knows and loves and trusts, but it was on her social media and told people to share it. The greatest words you can use in any social media where you're trying to get more input is please share. And for 4 hours one day, she sat like Jerry Lewis, old reference, ask your grandparents. She sat like Jerry Lewis and she answered the phone and took calls, and she got all this new intel on all these people, and it was all for a chance to win a ring, right? So a reverse bold 100 is a way to do it as well. Anything like that, I just really think about how you're going to spend your money and guard it with your life, right?
Absolutely.
Red light, green light.
So mastermind, talk to other agents in the office, talk to people that are doing things that are local, that you're putting things out there and getting things back, So let's make sure that we're being smart about it. You can't exhaust your phone because there's always next quarter, you're calling them all again. Okay, you don't call people once, you call them every quarter. So let's work on that. So as we wrap up, any last ideas, last ahas? Let's get listings.
Also, Deb, I've been kind of just in the background showing my screen to see the listing presentation. There are 6 different choices now, different templates that you can use. You can take pieces from all of them. You can just go in and, you know, move things around. You can use some pages, delete other pages. Someone had asked me to go back to the beginning to show them where to find it. Unfortunately, because I have 800 designs in here, yours is not going to look like this if you haven't created anything. So when you go in, you're not
You're
going
a
to see all this.
maniac.
Yeah, I just wanted you, I know how to do it. I think a lot of people were just struggling. So if you went from like your KW designs page, you went back and did it perfect. Like people just need to see that little plus sign in the corner.
Yeah.
Click the print button
your
when
way
you get to
through.
that plus sign. It will bring you to all the preloaded designs that command has.
Yeah.
So these are
well, I
all
just
what
didn't
Aaron
want anyone.
has.
I didn't want anyone to go in there later and be like, oh my gosh, mine doesn't look like Erin's. Something's wrong with mine.
God.
Once you start, thank God, right? Once you start making designs, you'll have this other tab with your designs, but your brand assets. So this is a great place to go in. And if you're on a team, grab your team logo, your colors for your team. These were the colors for my team when I had my team. And you can plug those in for your designs. So you can add your fonts in here.
Hey, and Erin or somebody, you guys, I'm sorry. I just want to say one thing. You can also go onto KW Connect, and Marty Miller has a lot of how to just.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Marty Miller is a great resource for guys who are trying to understand Connect or Command. Nick Baldwin is a great guy. If you guys are trying to get your social media presence up through Facebook, he's a great guy to watch. For those of you guys who don't know, like KW International has a huge partnership with Facebook. So when you use your command, when you're in command and you create social posts and social ads through your command and post them to Facebook, it's the algorithm that goes through that is huge. It automatically generates so much more population on Facebook, than if you were to just go do it on your Facebook page by itself. So it's something.
So remember, guys, calendar
aware of.
block. Right. So time block. Put some time aside to do these things. Don't be spending all day. So it's time block and get some of these things done. I have to fly. I don't know what you guys are doing. I have something coming up. So I just wanted to check out, and I don't know how you guys, do we do Coach's Corner or do we kind of?
Yeah, I'll hang. If people got questions, I can hang.
All right, good. I've got a call.
I mean, there's going to be cake. Don't leave.
Today. Get listings. Make phone calls.
Thank you so much, Deb. If you guys go in and do the
Thank
KW eval, Deb Hayes, you want to drop down to other and put Deb Hayes. And we thank you for your time today. If you guys have questions, I'll hang out. Erin might have to go. I don't know. She has to get her
Great. Thank you, Deb.
Her hair done.
Fantastic class, guys. I love all the interaction. It
Excellent.
makes it
Excellent. Thank you, Deb.
See you, guys. Bye-bye.
See ya.
See ya.
Questions, comments, concerns, if anybody has anything
How do I
for us
get out?
before you take off.
Tim, I just wanted to say one thing. I've been in the background for a lot of the
Yes, sir.
meeting,
Yes,
doing
sir.
some work on the phone, so I didn't want to be rude on the video with the phone. So I have been here listening, but the biggest thing I see is, I still work a couple of the jobs. I'm a sales consultant, but I want to do real estate full time. And what I do is I just carry the business cards with me. And I had one of the people who handle one of my accounts. I talked to him the other day and I said, hey, I was telling you about my real estate endeavor, and I handed him a card and he's like, yeah, I'm having twins. We're going to need to sell and we're going to need to buy.
Yeah.
Boom. And then there it was.
Yep.
So I just, the old practice of, getting 1,000 business cards and just take them with you wherever you go. UPS store, the UPS people, when you walk in, hand them out. So, that's a
Yeah,
great.
Maddie, I love that, Maddie. I would also challenge you to start to disseminate your app as well.
Yeah.
Right. They're never gonna and I would describe it as the business card they'll never lose. Right.
Yeah.
So make
So
sure
what
you
I'm
get
trying
your
to
app
do
done
is
as
when
well.
trying to get that information. So that's the initial, correct, Tim. That's the initial. Get that business card in the hand, start the conversation, get them into command and get it on the Facebook URL. So yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Perfect. Thanks,
One of the
Maddie.
things I have trouble with is getting other people's info. So I like where Erin put that in the chat.
Yeah.
But I always I'm really good at giving my business card. I'm a server, so I have a lot of opportunities to see people talk about my thing. But then I freeze up when I should be like, great, what's your phone? What's your email? Like, I don't, it feels like
So-
too aggressive.
No, well, what if you lean in with your app instead of handing people your business card? If you say, hey, why don't you give me your phone number and I'll text you my app right now.
That's a good idea.
And then you're grabbing their contact information. They're getting yours at the same time.
Yep.
Business cards are great. And I think but it could be one way, right? There's the potential
Right.
that it's one way. So, I got actually a call a few weeks ago from someone who had my business card on his desk for 2 years, right? Like that someone else gave him actually.
cool.
But the power of that was not the business card, it was the referral. Right. So it was because it came from a trusted individual that he kept it for 2 years. It wasn't because he found it, on a bulletin board. Right. So that's where we have to remember like the referral and getting people's information so that we can follow up. I could, he called me out of the blue. I was like, oh, okay. Right.
That's cool.
But so that's, if we think about our business cards, that's where they're powerful. If we hand them out to our friends and our family and ask them to distribute them with a referral behind them, right? Like, hey, you got to call my friend Matt. You got to call my friend Sarah because she's awesome. That's where your business cards are great. But
Definitely.
I would always do the app. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm out of business cards, but I have a great app and we can communicate to each other right through there. I can set up a search for you, whatever. And you can even get lender information. There's a lot of really cool stuff and you can search all over the United States with the app. If you're familiar with other real estate apps, it works very much the same way. Let me text it to you right now.
Yeah, that's a great way to segue to getting their contact info too for me, because I'm always like, yeah, call
That
me.
and digital business cards are a great thing to if they're
there's that.
short on time.
Yep.
Like, oh, just text me your, what's your name and number? Okay, I'll send you my digital business card, and then because that way you have their information.
Yep.
They have your digital business card loaded, and then that way you can text them, here's my app. I know we were talking about it.
Right.
We finished up at dinner, but you had to go. So I just wanted to send you my app. Here's this. Right. And now they have your contact information automatically stored. I use a digital business card called Hi Hello. It's free. It took me like 8 to 10 minutes to set up. Super easy. Again, like if it's quick, if they don't have time to download your app and stuff like that, if they say, oh, I don't have enough time to sit here and download this. Well, here's my digital business card. I'll text you my app later.
And also, I don't really have time. I'm multi-jobbing at that time where I'm like literally serving, 7, 8, 12 tables and being like, hey, look how good I am at this. You should see me sell houses.
Yep, write down your number on the receipt, and I will send you my digital business card and text you my
that's a good
app.
idea. Thanks. That's a good one.
Hi, hello. Getting numbers is my superpower.
Hi, hello.
It's an app.
It's an app.
Oh, we should talk, Jessica. I need that. I need like
Definitely, I'll message you my number, then you'll have it and I'll get yours. Ha.
See?
We also have things that I saw attached
So
on the back
silly.
of your phone that you can just literally put your phone up to someone else's phone.
Yes.
Changes. And I don't know.
That'd be
if that would
cool.
work I don't know if that would work if you can put your app on that digital card, so you don't even have to ask anybody. You can just say, hey, hold your phone up to mine. I haven't looked into it, so I didn't know if anybody has any thoughts on that or is any experience with those.
Yeah,
There's an app called Bump that does the same thing. Yeah.
I need that.
Yep.
that's the one that I use.
Bump. Okay.
Mhm.
What is it called for the people that were just talking about it? Is that like a QR code thing?
It was a little it was a little thing. I don't know. It was a button that you put at the bottom, the base of your phone. You can put it outside of your case, and I think what it does is it reads your phone's information. But I don't know if you need the same phone, so I don't know if it goes iPhone to iPhone or iPhone to Samsung. So that was kind of my question, because you'll see a couple ads on it on Facebook or whatnot.
I think as long as both users have the device, Maddie, it works. The one thing to be wary of right now in the current climate is people touching phones to phones.
Yep.
You're slapping that against your face all day. I might be like, cool, Maddie, awesome. Why don't you take your business card, make a paper airplane, and throw it across the street to me? That'd be great.
Point taken.
Yep. So you never know. I mean, but everybody's going to react differently to that.
Yep.
So don't overthink it.
Gotcha.
Anybody else? Questions, comments, concerns? How can we help?
I have a question. I don't know if it's appropriate for here.
Probably inappropriate, but we'll take it anyway. Go ahead.
I'm in the right group.
Very excited.
I was trying to, how do you guys handle objections with buyers right now in terms of like, because it does feel like, for one, that the sellers have the upper hand, which I'm not going to use that language with them, but we're in a safe place here. So I'm just to get to the point.
Yep.
And the other thing is they feel they're in competition for people who can do a cash sale. So it's like, they feel very discouraged going into it before they even get started because they see how fast things are moving on the market. So I'm just wondering, like, how do you make them feel comfortable to say, you know what, you may buy, it may be that you're paying more now for the house, but if you're staying in it for long term, it shouldn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, let's correlate that to that to the lifestyle and the motivation for moving to this home in this neighborhood for this lifestyle. There's some passion connected to that. So I would go back to the fact that we're equally, and Erin made this point in the chat earlier, we're on equal playing field. If the net for the seller is up and the rates are down right now, and that's where we stand, everyone's breaking even. Yes, you're gonna sell and you're gonna net more, and then you're gonna buy, and the value of the current marketplace has gone up, and you're also experiencing historically low rates. So for your buyer that's pushing back, and is there concern right now that they're up against, I love the cash conversation too. Let's be hyper clear about that. When it comes to cash, let's make sure that people understand, because you'll hear this from your buyers that are cash. They feel like they're a PJ Penny packer all of a sudden.
Right. Yeah.
They got the corn cob pipe and their professor's blazer with the patches on the elbows. I appreciate that you're cash, Mr. Lindsay. Cash is only king when we practice the expediency it creates, because you will have cash buyers that treat it like a financed deal anyway. If you're not going to waive the appraisal, if you're not going to waive the inspection, and they don't have to, cash isn't any faster. They're not showing up to the closing table with a cotton bag full of money. They're still showing up with a check, probably in the same time frame, unless they're going to waive inspection and appraisal, which they can do. What we find more often than not, and I think Erin would agree with me here, it doesn't happen often, so this is like Haley's comment. I think Erin would agree, is more people that are buying with cash, most likely because rates are so good, they probably could work with cash only. Yeah. They're probably still going to do a hybrid deal because rates, as the affluent people say, money's cheap right now.
Yeah, money's for
and
free
because
right now.
they're still making an investment for generations to come. If it's a second home, third home, ninth home, they're still going to get the appraisal to make sure they're making a wise investment. So usually when it comes to cash, they're only probably waiving the inspection, and that can be a hill to climb. But the perception to your buyer who's financed that the competition is involving somebody with cash, it's involving somebody, and get used to using this phrase, stop saying highest and best. Too many of our buyers watch too much HGTV and they connect highest to best. It's highest and cleanest. The value they perceive that their family can afford is willing debt to income ratio to spend versus what they're going to put for contingencies on the contract. I want the highest and cleanest offer we can present in order to be successful, Mr. Lindsay. It's not about being cash can come into play. That can be a barrier of entry for people, but cash is only king when we practice the expediency it creates. Too many people think cash is this deal breaker. It's not.
Well, I think, and that's where we come in to educate them, to educate our buyers about the process, about what's happening and their underlying motivation for moving. Right. So if you're sort of interested in moving, and maybe if the stars align and everything's perfect, are you a really motivated buyer right now? Maybe not. Right. Maybe I need to ask a few more questions and educate you a little bit more about the process. If you're afraid of a cash buyer competing against you, why? Is it because they're not what do they not know about their own ability to buy? So like, as Tim was saying, cash is it's really only removing one contingency. You're just removing the financing contingency. That's it. But so, cash buyers, and not everybody wants to close in 2 weeks. right? Like if that's like, so there are so many variables, and not every seller is going to be excited about a cash offer just because it's cash, right? Like you're just removing, if you're working with a reputable lender and you have a, you know, a good loan product that is the seller is going to understand, you know, like doesn't mean that you're going to lose just because someone else makes an offer with cash. They could make an offer for $20,000 less. Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean they're going to win the day.
Yeah,
win the day.
they're liquid for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, but I think that's the piece too, just to think about like what is your buyer's motivation ultimately? If they're renters, what's your script around that? How much is your rent? Are you paying $2,000 a month? Is staying in your apartment worth another $24,000 this year? Or would you like to invest that $24,000 into your new home? Because the longer you rent, the longer you're paying someone else's mortgage. So it's just really understanding where they're coming from and how to have those conversations so they can make the decision for themselves. You're not going to push anybody to do anything that they don't want to do. That's not our business. So
Michelle, I saw you taking notes. Can you read all that back to us, please?
I know. Did I say something smart?
There'll be a quiz later.
Smart.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you my takeaway if you want to know. It's not
that'd be great.
Highest and best offer. So you don't say
Highest
that.
and cleanest. Highest and
Oh,
cleanest. Highest and
no,
cleanest.
no, I'm saying don't say that.
Yes,
Don't say
amen,
that.
sister. Amen.
Instead, you're going to say it's highest and cleanest offer we can submit. Not everyone wants to close in 2 weeks. Find the motivation to move. Cash is only king. We create expediency of the transaction unless they waive the inspection appraisal and they're not, unless they're waiving the inspection and appraisal, they're not speeding up the process. That was my takeaway from all that.
Perfect. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Cash is only king when we exercise the expediency it can create. Right. Because to Erin's point, when you have a cash buyer, and more often than not, we experience that they are typically going hybrid on these bigger offers. And they're not standing in the driveway throwing money around like they hit Powerball last night, right?
Right.
They're just not. They've got a lot of money because they are without fail, they are absolutely frugal in their lives. They're going to make a wise investment. They're probably still going to do the appraisal. They might waive the inspection. They're probably not going to even do that.
No.
So when you've got that buyer and there's one coming to a theater near your face, they're going to be like, I'm cash. They should accept my offer. I don't know about that, right? Because again, it doesn't matter. You're still showing up at the closing table with a check. You're still wiring through the appropriate funds per the contract. You know,
and you're going to have that conversation with buyers. I've worked with buyers who've said, well, I'm paying cash. And I'm like, okay, money's money at the closing table.
Everybody is, you know, behind
so,
that cashier's check represents cash. Yes.
Right. So, you know, and it's interesting because I don't know where that whole sort of like legend that cash is king, but we as a society, people think that way. So we have to explain to them that that's not always the case. Right. So just because you're paying I've had people want to pay a lot less for a property because they think their cash offer is so much more valuable than the person with financing who's offering full price or above. Right. Money's money.
Yeah. Cash is king is chapter 3 in the book called Bad Realtor Stories behind chapter 2, which is seasonality. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm glad we talked about that because I have a guy that has like $100,000 cash and he's like, well, if I just put that down, I can offer $30,000-$40,000 less. I was like, I don't know if that's how that works, but let me look into that.
Nope.
They think that though, people. And so that's where this is, again, it's another script. Work on your language around how you explain that to people without being disrespectful or making them feel like you think they're, you know, totally stupid, you know, like,
just politely, this is where we put them on the other side of the kitchen table.
Yeah.
Interesting, Mr. Lindsay. So if you were sitting on the other side of the kitchen table and you were the seller and you saw 5 offers in front of you and your loved ones, and one of them was $25,000 less than everyone else's, yet it was cash, you'd really take that one first? Well, no. Okay. So let's go back on the other side and be the buyer again. You know, we always want to make sure the buyer understands the seller's perspective, right? And the seller understands the buyer's perspective. Not that we're fighting for either one. We're always looking for the Y4C2Ts, win-win, right? Or no deal. We want to make sure everyone's needs are being met and everybody's walking away from the transaction with a Keller Williams agent feeling success was defined for their loved ones. There's no other way to put it. It's about win-win and making sure they understand, because we get insulated in our own point of view. And it's our job to make sure we bring our history of success and experience into the conversation to educate them. Our job is to educate, communicate, and facilitate. That's our job. Brass tacks.
Yep. Well, it's 12:31, everyone.
Okay, all right,
Yes,
thank
yes,
you.
it's Scotch
Brains
o'clock,
are
everybody.
full
It's
of
Scotch o'clock.
knowledge.
Yeah.
Thank you, excellent. Thank you,
Go
all of
out
you.
and conquer the world.
Yep.
Okay,
Thank you, guys. We'll see you in the morning. Have a great
See you
day.
tomorrow.
thank you, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.